Chapter 730. Qin Fian's breath collapsed at this moment, but just as he was about to vomit, he suddenly wanted to take revenge. He wanted to pull open the bridesmaid's dress and vomit, only to find that all the bridesmaids today were wearing strapless dresses. What was a strapless dress? It meant that the chest area was tightly covered, or the dress would fall off. Moreover, today's bridesmaids' dresses were custom-made. They were tailor-made, not elastic. They were tight-fitting and had a zipper at the back. So Qin Fian did something that he had never done before in his life. That was when he imitated Xia Qian and pulled open her collar, only to find that it was too tight. He wanted to throw up, so when he got angry, he dug his hands into Xia Qian's chest and pulled hard on her collar. Rip, rip. The sound of fabric tearing rang out in the quiet corridor. Qin Fian wanted to vomit on Xia Qian's body as he wished when he saw a pair of snow-white breasts in front of him. They weren't big, but they were firm. After he pulled down the bridesmaid's dress, he leisurely slid it down the woman's body. He actually reached his hands so deep that he even tore off her nipples. Qin Fian was stunned. He wanted to vomit, but he couldn't. He saw that Xia Qian was swaying and couldn't stand properly, so he hurriedly turned his face away. However, when he heard the door lock click, he immediately opened Xia Qian's door and leaned it against the magnet. Resisting the urge to vomit, he retreated out of the room and kicked Xia Qian's butt as fast as he could, trying to kick her back into the room. Xia Qian's dress was already torn. At this time, it slid down to her waist. The dress that originally reached her calves was now dragging on the floor. Qin Fian kicked her forward. She fell forward as if she was weightless. Her feet stepped on the fabric. She wasn't used to wearing high heels, so she was pulled and scratched. Finally, she was successfully tripped into the room. With a dull thud, Xia Qian's nose hit the carpet and she landed face first on the floor. Qin Fian grabbed Xia Qian's arm and dragged her in like he was dragging a dead pig. Then, he slammed the door shut. The woman was thrown on the floor. Qin Fian went into the bathroom, threw away his clothes, and took a shower. Outside, she could still hear Qin Fian's voice on the phone. Hurry up. Send it over. Yes, tell him my measurements. Xia Qian woke up, but the first thing that came to her mind was her face. She was half naked, she touched her face. God, my nose isn't high? My nose two's even flatter now? Do I have to be reconstructed? I really have to get plastic surgery this time. Until she heard Qin Fian taking a shower in the bathroom and making a phone call. She was shocked to the point, shocked to find herself naked to the floor to get to her to the floor. She was to the shocked, she screamed to be. She was still sitting by the door, and half of her dress was stuck at the foot of the door. Xia's to wakes to Qin? To it to the? Qin Fian. This beast. He was gay, and he wanted to molest her. She tugged at the dress, but it wouldn't budge. She got up and opened the door a little to relieve the pressure on the dress. However, she realized that the dress she pulled in was smelly and dirty. It was disgusting because of the vomit on the floor outside the door. Xia Qian was already feeling nauseous from the alcohol. When she saw the dress in her hands, she couldn't help but vomit. The room, which didn't smell strange, was suddenly filled with a nauseating smell. At the entrance was the hotel's wardrobe. Xia Qian hurriedly opened the wardrobe door. There were clean robes hanging in the wardrobe, one for men and one for women. She shook her head and grabbed the smaller one. Her head cleared a little, but her steps were unsteady. She pinched her nose and stared at the bathroom door with anger. She pressed the door lock and pushed the door open. She was stunned. She was really stunned. Xia Qian asked herself, Xia Qian, have you seen a handsome man come out of the shower? She shook her head and answered herself, no. Xia Qian, have you seen a naked handsome man come out of the shower? She shook her head, no. Xia Qian, have you seen a naked handsome man come out of the shower with well-proportioned muscles and 8-pack abs? She shook her head, no. Xia Qian, have you seen a naked handsome man come out of the shower with 8-pack abs and skin so fair that it turned pink in the hot water? She shook her head hard. I really haven't, God. Xia Qian, have you ever seen a handsome man who is not only naked, but also wearing nothing under his abs? He's like a black forest, and he even has that magical thing that's thrown right in front of you after he comes out of the shower. She shook her head hard and said bitterly, "Kill me, I really haven't." "So, take a look. So be it if you get a needle eye. It's okay." She nodded. "Okay, I'll take a look then." Xia Qian swallowed her saliva, almost choking on it. Qin Fian didn't know that Xia Qian had done so many things in such a short time. He only saw her shaking her head and blinking her eyes as if she couldn't see clearly. Then she shook her head again. He turned off the water, grabbed a bath towel and wrapped himself up. "Did you take ecstasy? Or did your brain have a cramp? You're not showering anymore?" Xia Qian had already forgotten that her original intention was to get even with Qin Fian. She felt a little regretful. She had never seen a naked man in her life, and the first time she saw him, he gave her such a big meal. He was a perfect combination of fat and thin, and looked delicious. She wondered if he would taste the same when she ate him. Forget about eating, it was a pity that he was gay. She really envied him. However, this man had such a slender and muscular body. His abdominal muscles, arms, and chest were obviously well trained. Why would a little bottom like him need to train such seductive muscles for no reason? But if he was really a top, wouldn't it be a waste to look so small? After seeing Qin Fian's naked body, Xia Qian made a decision to not go against him anymore. Okay. Qin Fian didn't want to say too much to Xia Qian. He was very calm, but his expression betrayed him. He looked like a thin-skinned person who was blushing in embarrassment. "Hey, don't be shy. It's not the first time I've seen you. Last time at the swimming pool, didn't I take off your pants? There's nothing strange about it. You can be more generous." Xia Qian swore to the heavens that she said those words to comfort the thin-skinned handsome man. She didn't have any bad intentions. Although she really wanted him to continue looking. Qin Fian had already walked in front of Xia Qian. His face was a little red, and now it was a little dark. If there was any change, it would be that he raised his almond-shaped eyes and smiled. He held the glasses that he used to pretend to be refined, raised his leg, and kicked Xia Qian in the stomach. Xia Qian was kicked out of the door. She staggered back and hit the wall opposite the bathroom door. Qin Fian. After crying out in pain, she gritted her teeth and said, "God, I think I've been kicked twice today." She watched as Qin Fian retreated into the bathroom and came out after a while. Qin Fian smelled the vomit in the corridor. He gritted his teeth and glanced at Xia Qian. His voice wasn't loud, but it was very harsh. "Yes, I kicked both times. The first time I kicked your butt and the second time I kicked your stomach. How unlucky. I was wearing shoes for the first kick, and I kicked you barefoot for the second. God, was my head caught in the door just now? I have to find a physiotherapy shop today and peel off the layer of skin on my feet." Qin Fian said as he walked into the room. As he walked, he couldn't believe it and shook his head in annoyance. Xia Qian was really shocked. She remembered that someone had kicked her but just now. At that time, she wasn't very clear-headed, but now she was very clear. She wanted to take revenge, but when she saw Qin Fian's attractive back, she swallowed her saliva shamelessly. She wanted to scold him, but she softened her tone. That's why it's said that women are dangerous and sensual. With such a big piece of meat dangling in front of you, you have to have the ability to be calm even if you want to. You're a man. At the very least, you should have the demeanor of a gentleman, right? Qin Fian took his phone and threw it on the bed. He didn't seem to mind that Xia Qian was drooling over his meat, but he was extremely irritated. He sent a text message and urged her to change her clothes. The corner of his mouth lifted and he sneered, "Gentlemen? Is this the first time you found out that I'm gay? Have you seen me being a gentleman to women? Do you think you're a handsome man? Apart from your flat chest, which part of this cement board is comparable to a handsome man?" Xia Qian hugged her arms and tightly covered her chest. "Qin Fian, you bastard. You'll shine if I give you some sunshine, right? You're pushing your luck, aren't you?" The man said disdainfully, "If you have the ability, why don't you show off your chest for everyone to evaluate? Is it like a cement board? Men who train their muscles are more developed than yours, right?" Xia Qian felt that she was going crazy. It was true. Although she was still a virgin, she was still a fujoshi. It was impossible for her to be ignorant of everything. What was the difference between attacking a woman's chest and attacking a man's JJ size? It was fine if she was constantly attacked by Yi-er, but now that she was being attacked by a man, the feeling was too different. Xia Qian felt that it was very ungentlemanly to use force against a half-naked handsome man. As a tomboy, she should give in to such a handsome man. Hence, she calmed herself down before walking to Qin Fian's bedside. Qin Fian, how do you know that my chest is not as developed as a muscular man's? Qin Fian had already sent the text message. At this moment, he was shaking the phone in his hand. His two long legs were crossed, shaking his feet. He pursed his lips. I was the one who opened your clothes just now. Didn't you notice that you're naked? Gut. Luckily, I'm gay and didn't do anything to you. It wasn't a big blow to you. If a man who likes women saw you lying there naked, I'm afraid he would be very gentlemanly and send you home. Xia Qian was wearing a loose robe. She was so angry that she couldn't say a word. Besides her breathing, she couldn't hear anything. In a fit of anger, she pulled open her collar and lowered her head to take a look. Indeed, it was too small. Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian's unrestrained actions. His almond-shaped eyes widened, and he choked and hiccuped. Xia Qian looked at Qin Fian more and more fiercely. Not only did this man kick her butt, but he also kicked her stomach. Awesome novel. Song Shu 566. Chapter 731. If he hadn't used his beauty to delay her revenge, she would have beaten him up by now. She had wanted to let him off, but he didn't know what was good for him and insisted on going against her. Not only that, he had actually attacked her in an exaggerated manner. Although it wasn't as big as Yi-er's, it was definitely better than a man with chest muscles. This kind of attack was clearly a bloody sale, a dumping of goods regardless of the cost. Xia Qian rolled up her sleeves and knelt on the bed. Qin Fian, I'm your sister. If I let you off today, my surname won't be Xia anymore. Just you wait, I'm going to explode your orange blossoms today. You shameless homosexual. You're a weakling who deserves to be exploded. Before Xia Qian could put her words into action, the doorbell rang. Qin Fian calmly gestured at Xia Qian with his chin. You dirted my clothes with your vomit just now. Now that the person who delivered the clothes is here, go get them for me. The corners of Xia Qian's mouth twitched. Did this guy mean that he would punish her first? Then he would enslave her to do things for him. Only then did she realize that she really did vomit on his clothes. She felt a little sorry and wanted to pay for it. Qin Fian got off the bed and whispered, Forget it. You must have touched it. It must be dirty. He walked past her to open the door. The smelly dress at the door made Qin Fian's expression darken. However, he kept reminding himself that this was Jiang District, not High City. Xia Qian was his sister-in-law's friend. If he wanted to mess with her, he had to go back to High City. If word got out that he messed with her in Jiang District, people would say that the Jiang family wasn't very kind. Therefore, Qin Fian endured the stench and went into the bathroom to change his clothes. He didn't even say goodbye to Xia Qian until he left. Just as Qin Fian went into the bathroom to change his clothes silently, a certain idiot had already fallen asleep on the bed. She didn't even cover herself with the blanket. The next morning, when Xia Qian woke up, she suddenly remembered everything that had happened last night. She stood on the bed and jumped up and down, shouting, Qin Fian, a feud has been formed. Wait and see. Exploding your orange blossoms is my only wish in this life. The day after Yi-er's pregnancy, the Jiang family arranged for her to have an ultrasound to confirm that she was really pregnant. After Yi-er got pregnant, Jiang Zhao's heart. Yi-er was aware of Jiang Zhao's kindness, but she couldn't accept that. Ha! I'm not the one who's pregnant. I'm the one who made my wife pregnant. What do you think? Xiang Wan, who was looking for books for Yi-er, couldn't bear to hear that Jiang Zhao had the upper hand over Jiang Rui. Hence, she said with a smile, it's a woman's ability to have twins. If you don't provide 2 eggs, will your twins fall from the sky? So don't make it sound as if you're so great because Yi Er is pregnant with twins. It's all because Yi Er is great. Jiang Zhao choked at first, but then he laughed. Yes, it's because my wife is capable. Look, I've married such a capable wife. This is such a great thing. You really know how to flatter yourself. Xiang Wan had already found all the books and tied them up. Take them and read them. Jiang Zhao held the books in his hands and looked at the bundle of books about pregnancy. His eyes felt bitter, and he adjusted his position and attitude. Thank you, sister-in-law. Look, I told you to buy them, but you insisted that I come to Snow Garden to get them. I tested these books first. I found them for Yi Er after I found them useful. If you go to the bookstore to buy them, you won't know how to choose. Then I have to thank sister-in-law even more. After returning to Haiqing, Jiang Zhao read books with Yi Er every day. Sometimes he would explain to Yi Er loudly, "Honey, look. It's written in the book that the best age for a man to give birth is 30 years old. For a woman, it's 25 years old. The bigger the age difference between a man and a woman, the smarter the baby will be." Yi Er was sleepy. She vomited less now, but her sleepiness didn't change. Honey, do you understand what I'm saying? Why did you only say Hey, Yunyi, are you deliberately pretending not to hear what I said? Say it again, I'm listening. I said that the best age for a man to give birth is 30 years old or later. For a woman, it's 25 years old. The baby born this way will be very smart. After 30 years old, men's intelligence will become more mature and can be inherited. This shows that an old man and a young wife are the perfect match. Do you understand what I mean? Yes. Yi Er answered him and didn't hear what he said. She only knew that he kept waving at her. Why isn't this fellow going to work? If it weren't for the prenatal education, he would have cursed. Bro was startled by the man's loud and clear voice. She opened her eyes. Wasn't she still lying on the bed? Did he have to work so hard to hug her with one hand and read a book with the other? Hubby, Jiang Zhao glared at Yi Er. When he heard the soft hubby, he lost his temper. Thus, he told her what he thought. The book says that an old man and a young wife are the perfect match. Just like us, although we're 10 years apart, the baby will be very smart. This had always been a barrier in Jiang Zhao's heart. He always felt that this wife couldn't support the family. She was too young and unstable. It was very likely that there would be problems. Now that they had a child, she didn't seem unhappy because of the pregnancy. Yi Er frowned and said blankly, "Why is it an old man and a young wife? I think I'm a young wife, but I don't think you're old. Everyone says that I look old, but why do you look so young? So handsome?" Jiang Zhao was delighted. He threw the book in his hand and hugged Yi Er even tighter. "Honey, really? Really? You're really not old? You're really not old." Jiang Zhao sweetly and cheekily placed his face on Yi Er's shoulder and smiled. Yi Er was confused. "Why are you so happy when I say you're not old? Didn't they say that an old man and a young wife is better?" Jiang Zhao's face stiffened. He coughed awkwardly and sat up. "I'll go downstairs to cook wontons for you. Sleep for a while more. I'll wake you up later to eat." Xia Qian was still doing her internship. In order to perform well, she went to work early in the morning. She cleaned her colleagues' desks and didn't let go of her superiors' desks. She had read a workplace guide before. The general idea was that it was important to be diligent in a unit. If you showed off too much, you would be easily ostracized. However, Xia Qian neglected that she didn't have anything to show off. It was a terrible thing to work hard in a unit like this, especially for a girl like Xia Qian who came to the office early in the morning to do odd jobs. They were all new colleagues, so they couldn't stand her servile nature. Xia Qian actually didn't know how to socialize. In order to show that she had helped her colleagues, she would often loudly count her contributions in the morning when there were many people or superiors around. "Xiao Wang, I helped you water your cactus. Xiao Li, your keyboard was too dirty. I helped you pat it and clean it again. Xiao Zhang, I categorized the documents on your desk. Xiao Zhao, I threw away the trash bag under your desk. There were a lot of snacks in it that would attract rats. Director Qian, I cleaned the floor in your office. Xiao Xia, thank you. F***ck, my cactus is a cactus. Do you think it's a rose? If you water it every day, do you want it to bloat to death? How can I help you, Chen? F***ck, how is my keyboard dirty? Busybody. Xiao Xia, I've really troubled you. Crazy woman, where did the documents offend her? Categorize? Now I can't even figure out how to categorize things. Chen, thank you so much. Crazy woman, how dare she say that her trash bag attracted rats in front of her superiors? Is this woman a prostitute? Director Qian looked at Xia Qian with satisfaction. Xiao Xia, not bad. It's rare to see a young lady like you nowadays. You're also willing to help others. Now the office is clean every day. Not bad. In my opinion, the cleaning auntie isn't as good as Xiao Xia. There aren't many girls like Xiao Xia. You have a bright future ahead of you. 4 pairs of eyes and 8 shiny knives stabbed at Xia Qian's back. Director Qian continued, it seems that the cleaning auntie can be fired. Our TV station also needs to think of ways to increase revenue and reduce expenditure. Xiao Xia can do these things in the future. Xia Qian was waiting for the compliments happily, but who knew that Director Qian would say something like that? The smile on her face froze. She was so depressed that she wanted to die. The 4 people behind her laughed. None of them were happy. Qian, we'll have to trouble you in the future. Yes. Qian is really our TV station's little bee. Which young lady is like Xiao Xia these days? She's like a reincarnation of Lei Feng. Could it be that Comrade Lei Feng's soul has transmigrated into Xiao Xia's body? Xia Qian felt that her career had suffered a setback. She had been an intern for so long, and she was still an intern. Those who had good results had all been promoted. She clearly had a chance. It was just that after the incident at the swimming pool, her career had been progressing with setbacks. There were no setbacks, only more setbacks. Qian wasn't an idiot. At the end of the day, the main culprit was Qin Fian. Xia Qianyan slumped in her seat. As soon as she heard Qin Fian's name, she saw a beautiful man's face in front of her. His skin was fair and rosy under the hot water. His muscles, his abs, his long legs, and the lump between his abs and his long legs. Wow! Xia Qian took a deep breath. She felt something warm flowing out of her nostrils. There was a fishy smell. That liquid flowed through her nose and flowed to her lips. Xiao Xia. What's wrong? You're having a nosebleed. Xia Qian's eyes widened. She pulled out 2 pieces of tissue and pressed them against her nose. Then, the thoughts that popped up in her head were always different from those of ordinary people. Beauty novel, Song Shu 566. Chapter 732. God. I have a nosebleed? Do I have leukemia? I'm so young, how did I get such a disease? God, I just graduated from university, I haven't been promoted, I don't have a boyfriend, I'm still a virgin. How did I get such a terminal disease? She suddenly had a tragic thought. Even if she were to die, she had to kill Qin Fian before she died. Qin Fian was eating breakfast. Just as he drank the milk, he suddenly felt his nose itchy and uncomfortable. He couldn't tell where it was uncomfortable. Anyway, he quickly took a piece of tissue and covered his nose. Achoo! Brother, do you have a cold? Fei Yu also took a piece of tissue from the tissue box on the table. She stood up and walked to Qin Fian's side and helped him wipe his nose. Brother, wear more clothes? It's easy to catch a cold like this. Fei Yu looked at her brother who was wearing flashy pink. A shirt was a shirt. It was said that people who worked had to wear a shirt to look formal. Those who wore a t-shirt to work had no professional ethics. But her brother was wearing a shirt. His chest was bare and his muscles were exposed. She was speechless. Wearing this shirt on him, he had already lost his professional ethics. What are you talking about? I don't have a cold. This girl really knew how to meddle in other people's business. How could he not know if he had a cold? Besides, he exercised every day. How could he feel cold? I'm going to work. Eat slowly. I think someone will scold me. I've been scolding you every day. Why did you only sneeze today? Qin Rongfang didn't say anything. The porridge in front of him was still very hot. Now that the weather was cold, he didn't want to eat cold food. Eating hot food was more comfortable. He rolled his eyes at Qin Fian. Luckily, I'm not counting on you now. Look at how capable Zhao Zhao is. Little Yi is pregnant with twins. My Qin family has a descendant. Hurry up and get out of my sight. Grandpa, you're so petty. It's just giving birth. Didn't the news say that transsexuals are pregnant? Why don't I get my boyfriend to give birth to one for you to see? Qin Rongfang wasn't so angry at first, but when he heard Qin Fian talk about something he cared about so much and said it so unbearably, he picked up the bowl and threw it at Qin Fian. The old man's hand tilted, and the bowl flew towards Qin Fian. Qin Fian laughed and dodged, but the boiling hot porridge flew towards Fei Yu. Qin Rongfang. Fei Yu saw the porridge zest. She gasped, her mouth open, her eyes wide. Suddenly, a shadow rushed over and hugged speechless in an instant. Boiling hot porridge sprayed all over the person's back. What are you doing here? The young man turned around and looked at Fei Yu. Qin Fian pulled the young man away and looked at Fei Yu. Are you hurt? Fei Yu tilted her head and looked at the young man behind Qin Fian. Brother, the porridge splashed on Feng Sheng's back. I'm fine. The young man looked at Fei Yu, his eyes relieved. He still didn't speak, but the corners of his mouth turned up slightly. He was wearing a normal t-shirt, but because of his tall stature and delicate features, he stood out. Fei Yu went over and took the young man's hand. I'll take you to the doctor at home. What if you're scalded? Without waiting for the others to agree, she dragged the young man away. Qin Fian frowned at the scene in front of him. Grandpa, what should we do? Fei Yu is still young. She's very compassionate. When Qin Rongfang said this, his tone was obviously not good. He doted on Fei Yu a lot. At that time, it was Fei Yu who insisted on bringing this young man back to High City. She cried and made a fuss, saying that it was wrong to leave him in the lurch. If they left, this young man would definitely be stranded on the streets. What would happen if he had no one to rely on? He was still a young man. What would happen if he committed a crime in the future? He promised her that if he brought this young man back, he could be a servant in the Qin family. Fei Yu even gave the mute boy a name, Feng Sheng. She said that it was because he met them at the seaside that he was saved from death's door. There were many beautiful children in ordinary families. But this Feng Sheng, he didn't speak normally and was very submissive. He didn't have the temperament of an ordinary child. At that time, he was so seriously injured. It was obvious that it was murder. She didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse to keep such a boy in the Qin family. Qin Fian looked at Feng Sheng and felt a little uncomfortable. In his eyes, Fei Yu was engaged to the Pei family by marriage. Although she was still young, in a few years, she would marry into the Pei family. No one could change that. But Fei Yu was too concerned about this Feng Sheng. And this Feng Sheng also seemed to pay special attention to Fei Yu. A boy who looked like he was only 17 to 18 years old, how could he be so scheming? But no matter if Fei Yu was scratched by a cat or frightened by a dog, Feng Sheng would follow her like a shadow. Like today's incident of blocking the porridge, if it was in the past, it would definitely be this older brother. But at that time, he didn't react. Feng Sheng was clearly a servant, but he was paying attention to their every move. Just thinking about it made him panic. Fei Yu was usually well-behaved, sensible, and kind-hearted. This was something that everyone in the Qin residence knew. Fei Yu was good to everyone. She had been a nanny in the family for decades, and she was treated like her own granddaughter. She was a girl who was easy to fall in love with. Just by looking at her eyes, one would know that she would not harm anyone. Perhaps he was biased, but after 17 years of living together, he was not a person who was easily deceived. It was just like how his grandfather looked very kind, but in fact, he was an old fox. This could not escape his eyes. Qin Fian had a feeling that Fei Yu liked Feng Sheng. At the beginning, it might have been sympathy. When he brought her back to High City, it might still be sympathy. But now, Feng Sheng had helped her resolve danger time and time again. Was it still sympathy? It was very easy for women to develop feelings for heroes. But no one could understand Feng Sheng's emotions. He never said a word. If he was told to do something, he would do it obediently. Nodding his head was the most common action. Sometimes, when Feng Xing did things, there was a sense of accomplishment. Because he didn't act like a servant, but like a Qin Fian shook his head. He thought about what grandfather said. His sister was still young. Maybe he was overthinking. After a day of work, it was finally time to get off work. Xia Qian drove her second-hand car, humming a little tune. She was an idiot, so she quickly polished off the day's troubles. Rush hour was the main theme of getting off work. For example, traffic jams, rear-end collisions, or car crashes. When Geely encountered the Maybach, must it be Cinderella who bumped into the prince? It must be the princess in distress who met the black-hearted sorcerer. The man didn't care if it was rush hour or not. Like a flirtatious model, he leaned against the front of the Maybach. "Miss, compensate me." Xia Qian looked at Qin Fian's flirtatious appearance. The lump between his long legs and abs appeared in front of her eyes again. Her nose felt hot again. She quickly covered it. Thinking that she had wiped his car, she quickly pulled out a wrinkled $100 bill from her jeans and handed it to him. "Here." Qin Fian looked at her with disdain. $100? Do you think my Maybach is your lousy car? Xia Qian looked at the car behind Qin Fian and felt guilty. She said, "Lousy car? Get your facts straight. My car looks like a BMW from the front and a Mercedes-Benz from the back. The frame is made in China. How can you call such a noble mixed-blood car a lousy car? Don't you know that Chinese and Western medicine are all the rage for cold medicine now? You're a wretch who worships foreign things." Qin Fian wasn't angry. 30,000. Otherwise, I'll deduct your driver's license. Do you believe me? 30,000? Why don't you go rob a bank? Ha! The man laughed flirtatiously. Xia Qian spat. The weather is so cold and you have so much meat. Are you selling meat? You've gone crazy thinking about money. Take it or leave it. Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian as if he was looking at dirt. If I sell meat, you won't be able to afford it. But if you sell meat, even if it's $1, you won't be able to sell it. So what if I sell meat? Even if we both sell meat, the value is, it's not the same. Xia Qian's self-esteem suffered a huge blow. But because of the price, she couldn't retort. Behind them, the loudspeakers were blaring. The road in front of Xia Qian's car was already very empty. She took a few steps forward and pulled open a man's collar. She threw the $100 bill in, turned around, opened the car door, and got in. Qin Fian was about to chase after her when Xia Qian quickly stuck her head out of the window. "Flirtatious man, let me tell you. My car went to the junkyard during the day. My door handle was pulled by a very dirty cleaner who took out the garbage." Qin Fian's hand that was about to hold the car lock shrank back. Xia Qian took the opportunity to start the car and drive away. Qin Fian's naked body began to dangle in front of Xia Qian again. As she drove, she wiped the blood from her nose. Feeling the threat of death and despair, Xia Qian swore to herself that she would definitely F***ck Qin Fian. If she didn't F***ck Qin Fian, she wouldn't be human in her next life. But Qin Fian had a grudge against her. How could she successfully F***ck him? Knockout drug? F***king him while he was unconscious was simply too unexciting. She must F***ck him with an unforgettable orange flower. In his future gay life, he would never forget that a woman named Xia Qian had once given him orange blossoms. This way, Xia Qian's spirit would last forever. Xia Qian was a fool. When she felt that she was going to die, she didn't go to the hospital for a checkup. Instead, she thought about how to leave a name for herself after giving birth. When Xia Qian tricked Qin Fian into trusting her in a humble manner and was tied to the hotel bed by Xia Qian, Qin Fian experienced for the first time what it meant to be humiliated. When Qin Fian woke up, the back of his head hurt a lot. He wanted to reach out and rub it, but he found that his left hand couldn't reach the back of his head. His right hand also couldn't reach the back of his head. He wanted to turn over, but it was uncomfortable. Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 733. He tried a few more times and realized that his hands were tied behind his back. His feet were also tied. His ears were filled with the sound of bang 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 bang. He suddenly opened his eyes and realized that he was in a hotel bed. A hotel was always the best place in the world to distinguish it from other environments. No matter how cozy the decoration was, a hotel was still a hotel. It gave off a commercial hotel vibe. Following the sound, he found a woman with pear blossom hair fiddling with something in front of the dressing table. Xia Qian. Hey! Xia Qian was fiddling with a bunch of bottles and various utensils. These utensils were not ordinary utensils, but random things bought from a sex shop. When she answered Qin Fian, she was obviously absent-minded. Why did you tie me up? To satisfy you. Xia Qian felt that this man was asking the obvious, so she picked up a bottle of oil. Wait a minute, I'll find some videos to watch. I think it's a bit difficult to understand the things you gay people do. Time is tight, so I might as well learn and do it now. What do you mean by learn and do it now? Qin Fian shuddered. He finally recognized this woman's true nature. What humble acknowledgement of a mistake. What fawning. What grandpa. He even said that he would help her bring something to the hotel. Now she knew that the box of things was clearly the tools on the table, and he had personally helped her bring them up. As soon as the things were put down, she picked up the stick and knocked him out. As the saying goes, a woman's heart is the most vicious. Only women and villains are the hardest to deal with. His hands were tied behind his back, and his feet were tied together. This way, he could bend his body more comfortably. He tried to untie the rope with his hands behind his back, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find the knot. At this moment, Xia Qian said with some annoyance, "Popping orange flowers is too complicated. Look, I bought a lot of things, but they're too thick. I think it's difficult to put them in your orange flowers." Xia Qian, I'm warning you. Don't mess around. Qin Fian was born a beauty. At this moment, his face was dark and his eyes were sharp. Even though he was tied up, he still revealed a ferocious look as if he wanted to eat someone alive. Xia Qian shrugged her shoulders and spat. Then she deliberately patted her chest and shrank her neck. Yeah? Young Master Fei Yan, I'm so scared. Xia Qian, I won't let you live in peace in Sea City. I will personally kill you. Seeking no place to live in peace. Just give him a tomb. If you kill me with your own hands, cremate me, and then throw my ashes into the sea. At this point, Xia Qian started humming a song. Cut love into pieces and blow it into the sea. There are many things that can be understood after being washed away by tears. Innocent as I am. Qin Fian struggled to break free from the rope on his back. When he heard Xia Qian singing Mei's song, he wanted to kick him. How naive. That's right, naive my ass. You don't believe that I'm naive? I feel that there's a need for you to understand me. Xia Qian felt that it was a pity that no one could understand her in her lifetime. Her sister loved her, but it was only love. No one understood her. There were many thoughts in her heart that were not understood. She felt that she was very smart, but others thought that she was very stupid and strange. She clearly felt that things were very right, but in the eyes of others, it was very funny and very funny. Why was this? Xia Qian threw the things in her hands away and climbed onto the bed. She slept beside Qin Fian. Qin Fian reflexively leaned back and wriggled a few times with difficulty, distancing himself from Xia Qian. However, Xia Qian domineeringly put her arm through Qin Fian's neck and pulled him into her embrace. She lay on the bed, crossed her legs, and patted Qin Fian's face with her other hand. She said very manly, "Be good." Qin Fian almost vomited blood. Don't if *King touch me. His face was really green. His eyes were red. He reckoned that his liver was trembling. Xia Qian did not care about this. She felt that she was going to die. What was a dying person afraid of? At worst, you'll let me die a few hours earlier. Leukemia, God. It was scary just thinking about it. In TV shows and novels, when the protagonists got such a disease, they would hide it from everyone and bear the pain alone. Xia Qian felt that at this time, her sentiments had been raised to another level. This noble quality of thinking for others was not something that everyone had. especially at her age, when she was young and beautiful. Who would be like her? She kept the sadness to herself and left the laughter to others. Xia Qian was almost moved by herself. So she used a little more strength in her arms. She still had the ability to deal with a man with 4 limbs tied up. Qin Fian was firmly fixed in Xia Qian's arms. No matter how much he wanted to resist, Xia Qian would not let go. Qin Fian, I want to talk to you about life. Talk my ass. I'm not interested. Let me tell you, if you don't untie me, you're dead meat. Xia Qian did not hear the threat and said to herself, hey, let me tell you, my sister is my uncle's daughter. She's really good to me and always gave in to me. When I was in junior high, I was much uglier than I am now. My body was full of scars and my classmates laughed at me. She stole second aunt's gold bracelets, gold necklaces, and gold rings and sold them. With the money from selling the jewelry, she found some hooligans in our town and beat up all the classmates who laughed at me and bullied me in school. She even said that if anyone dared to bully me in school, she would beat them to death. Xia Qian sniffled. But that day, she helped me vent my anger, but second aunt beat her up too. My aunt couldn't bear to do it, but she had no choice. Second aunt said that she would send her to the police station. Later, eldest aunt gave all the gold that she had brought with her as dowry to second aunt. Only then was the matter settled. Qin Fian was not in the mood to listen to this. Xia Qian, a scourge like you specializes in harming people. Qiu Xiaoye was blind to help you. Qin Fian felt uncomfortable being strangled by Xia Qian. He wanted to break free, but as the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Now, he could not even stretch out a finger, let alone 2 fists. He opened his mouth and bit down. Who cares what he bit? Xia Qian was shocked by the pain. All the hurt that a literary young woman should have felt disappeared. She reached out and pinched the beautiful man's chin and moved away from herself. She really wanted to draw a turtle on his face or deform it, so that when she looked at a man's face, she would not feel that it was a mistake to be born a woman. The pain in her chest was still there. Fortunately, she was wearing a thick bra with a thick sponge cushion. Was this the help of a flat-chested woman? If a big-chested woman was wearing Les's thin bra, she would have lost half her breasts after being bitten by this beast. Faced with another enemy, Xia Qian said sternly, Qin Fian, you son of AB***, last time, you took off my clothes and tried to molest me. At that time, I saw your naked body, so we called it even. But now, you're trying to molest me again. How dare you lick my breasts? Qin Fian's mouth was wide open. He couldn't even muster the strength he wanted to muster. Did he hear wrongly? He wanted to molest her? But, also, the woman had said lick, not bite. But he clearly used the word bite. Why are you opening your mouth so wide? Do you want me to kiss you? Why would I kiss you? You're a homosexual. You've kissed a man before, and you want me to kiss you? In your dreams? Xia Qian roared righteously. She looked at the beautiful man's face in her hand. Wow, this mouth is really good. What a seductive little bottom. The heavens are really messing around. It's a pity for such a man to be a bottom. It's a waste of a heavenly gift. How can he be a bottom with such muscles? Her hand was pinched on Qin Fian's face. It was as if her hand was stuck between his teeth, so it was impossible for him to close his mouth even if he wanted to. Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian's perverted eyes and shuddered again. His almond-shaped eyes widened and he looked back. He wanted to kick someone. He wanted to kick someone. He wanted to kill someone. What was this woman doing? She wanted to kiss him. If she dared to kiss him, he would kill her today. The face of the woman in front of him was getting bigger and bigger, getting closer to him. Xia Qian was sucking on Qin Fian's lips. Her tongue reached into his mouth for a moment and then escaped. Qin Fian closed his mouth and was about to bite Xia Qian's lips. Xia Qian knew that she was in danger. She kissed him a few times and quickly ran away. She didn't forget to laugh at him. Look at you. It's not your first time kissing. Why are you so shy? Qin Fian thought about the stinky tofu from last time. He closed his eyes and took a few deep breaths. When he opened his eyes again, he narrowed them. There was an ominous glint in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and said, "Xia Qian, remember this. You provoked a man called Qin Fian today." Xia Qian wasn't afraid. She was going to die. What was there to be afraid of? She kissed Qin Fian's face and deliberately swept more saliva on his lips. She even kissed him on the cheek. Then she smeared it all on Qin Fian's face. She chuckled. "I'll remember it. I'll remember it until I die. Don't worry, I won't forget you. Dear, do you feel honored?" Qin Fian could still feel the woman's saliva on his face. This crazy woman. He aimed at the woman's head and used his strength to knock his head against hers. Ah! Xia Qian let go of Qin Fian and touched her forehead, which was seeing stars. "Qin Fian." Xia Qian jumped off the bed angrily and picked up a pair of scissors from the table. It was the pair of scissors that Xiaoye used to cut clothes. She crouched in front of Qin Fian and waved it. "Qin Fian, do you see? Scissors. Our game has begun. Asterisk 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 scissors? Scissors. What was this crazy woman trying to do?" Qin Fian had a very bad feeling. If she put scissors on a man's body and said that she wanted to use it, the things she cut would be hair-raising. Xia Qian held the scissors and approached Qin Fian. "Don't move. I'll cut your flesh later. If you move on your own, I won't care if you bleed." Awesome novel, Song Shu 566. Chapter 734. Qin Fian really didn't dare to move. "Don't move, Qin Fian. Let me tell you, you're the most shameless. You actually grabbed my dress and tore it. That's too much. Think about it. My dress is so expensive. It's custom-made. Although my sister also has custom-made dresses are very expensive. Don't you know? You open the front of the dress. It's so frail that it can't be mended. What a pity. I was planning to wear it to show off at class gatherings in the future. Look at you. It's fine if you don't compensate me, but you keep bullying me." Xia Qian picked up the corner of Qin Fian's trousers, aimed the scissors at the mouth, and cut down. She cut a small hole, then put the scissors down. She pinched both sides of the opening with her hands and pretended to tear it. She looked at Qin Fian, who had been burning her with hatred, and said, "I'm going to pay you back today. What you did to me, I'm going to do to you. Today, I'm going to tear your clothes." Qin Fian snorted coldly and exhaled. Fortunately, she was only tearing his clothes. He ignored her for the time being and thought of a way to break free from the rope. Xia Qian forcefully tore open Qin Fian's trousers. She stopped after tearing a section. It was not coherent. She tore until she reached his groin. Then she threw away the fabric, revealing his long legs. One leg was wearing casual trousers, and the other was lying there beautifully. Looking at the torn fabric, his white skin, and the way he was tied up, it really looked like he had been cruelly defiled. She couldn't bear it, she couldn't bear it. Xia Qian felt her heart soften again. Looking at the man's legs, she swallowed her saliva and started to cut the other trousers. Both legs were exposed. This was the most beautiful beggar, right? Dressed so shabbily? If Qin Fian stood up, such elegant trousers would definitely be very sexy. Xia Qian rubbed her face. She simply used the scissors to cut deeper, directly cutting the waist of the trousers. This was great. The man was wearing a pair of bullet underwear, and the thing in his pocket was a big and bulging bag. It was not that she had not seen him take a bath that day. Her eyes suddenly seemed to have X-ray vision, and she saw a black forest and something. She's too pure. I don't know what to say. For the time being, I'll just give her a written name. Qin Fian bent his body and bent his legs to avoid Xia Qian's perverted appearance. "Xia Qian, you're not allowed to look. It's not like I haven't seen it before. How can you be so shameless? When have I ever cared about my face? Why did this conversation sound so familiar?" Qin Fian was speechless. That's right. Since when did she care about her reputation? She dared to push him back into the swimming pool and pull off his pants in front of everyone. Thinking about it from the beginning to the end, he really felt very hurt. Saber wanted to see it coming. After cutting Qin Fian's pants and clothes, Qin Fian was left with only a pair of underwear. His hands were tied behind his back, and his legs were tied. Such a fair and beautiful man. She really could not bear to ravage him. Qin Fian, I've now cut off all your clothes and pants. I've avenged you for ripping off my clothes. Xia Qian put the scissors back on the dressing table and returned to the bed. She lay on her side, supported her head with one hand, and made herself look at Qin Fian. Now I want to take revenge on other things. Xia Qian. Qin Fian could no longer predict what Xia Qian was going to do. He could only grit his teeth and call out Xia Qian's name word by word. Last time, you were not gentlemanly. You actually wanted to throw me down from such a high place. My back was bruised from the water for a few days. You made me not dare to tell my sister for many days. You scum. If I don't throw you down today, I'm not Xia Qian. As Xia Qian spoke, she pushed and shoved Qin Fian towards the bed. The man was tall and strong. Xia Qian used a lot of strength to push him to the side of the bed. Only when the man was pushed to the side of the bed did she smile evilly. Qin Fian did not care. There was a carpet in the hotel, so it would not hurt much. When he was kicked off the bed, bang! Damn! Why was the ground so hard? So cold? He tilted his head to look. Magnetic tiles. Only then did he realize why he could feel that it was a hotel. This hotel was definitely below 2 stars. It showed the tackiness of a low-class hotel everywhere. His body was bare, and the magnetic tiles were cold. So dirty! Qin Fian fell to the ground. He wanted to sit up, but Xia Qian kicked him to the ground. As soon as he sat up, he was kicked to the ground again. Xia Qian, if you have the ability, kill me here today. Otherwise, I'll tell you, I'll make you feel that living is the most painful thing in the world. Okay, I'll tell you. You must let me know what it feels like. Xia Qian sat on the edge of the bed. One of her white feet stepped on Qin Fian's chest, not allowing him to stand up. She crossed her arms, trembling proudly, and raised the corner of her eyebrows. To be honest, Xia Qian felt that although she was called stupid by others, no one could bear to humiliate her in front of her, let alone hurt her. The incident at the swimming pool last time was really unforgettable. Therefore, her hatred for Qin Fian was especially deep. People said that when a person was about to die, his words would be kind. However, she did not want to be a kind person. No matter what, she had to solve the problems that she had caused when she was alive. She did not want to be depressed in the netherworld. In her next life, she swore that she would not be called stupid by others. Don't think that she did not know that those people secretly laughed at her for being stupid. Didn't they think that she was stupid? If she was stupid, how would she know that her sister was good to her? If she was stupid, why would she go to Yi Air and ask Jiang Zhao to introduce her to a job instead of her sister? If she was stupid, why would she work part-time as a waitress in a place like Haiyue restaurant? Now that she was no longer working there, people kept calling her to go back to work and even gave her a raise. Many customers said that they were asking why the girl named Xia Qian was not there anymore. She was not stupid at all. Stepping on Qin Fian's chest, Xia Qian said carelessly, "Well, Qin Fian, you scum. Let me tell you, I was just taking revenge for you throwing me into the pool. This is considered light. The conditions here are poor and simple. It's just a formality to satisfy my vanity. But you called me a cement board. I still have to take revenge. Don't you know that it's not good to say that a woman's breasts are small, just like a woman saying that a man's penis is small?" Xia Qian glanced at Qin Fian's lower abdomen. Qin Fian bent his legs even deeper to cover his private parts. "As for me, I just want to see how big yours can be. What right do you have to laugh at my small breasts?" Xia Qian said as she stood up, walked to the other side of Qin Fian, and squatted down. What Xia Qian did to Qin Fian was over. Qin Fian hated women touching his body. This was a fact that everyone knew, but Xia Qian touched him again and again. The first time, she took stinky tofu and forced a kiss on him. She even pressed him to the ground and kissed him. Then she took off his pants. Today, not only did she kiss him, she even smeared her saliva on his face. He let out a long sigh. He closed his eyes and steadied his mind. He was on the verge of exploding. His hands were tied behind his back, but he could still feel the fake watch on his wrist. His heart was beating violently. He swore that if Xia Qian, this demoness, dared to do anything to him today, he would. In the future, he wouldn't care if she was his sister-in-law's friend or Zhuang Yichen's sister-in-law. No matter who she was. Even God couldn't stop him from taking revenge on her. Xia Qian slowly squatted down beside him and smiled coldly. Qin Fian, if yours is really big, you can laugh at me however you want. But what if yours is small? In the future, I'll tell everyone that Qin Fian is gay because it's too small. Ha! Qin Fian's heaving chest was filled with anger. Xia Qian could feel it, but she was now a person who didn't fear power. She was not afraid. Her hand reached towards Qin Fian's lower abdomen. Qin Fian desperately bent his legs and bowed his body, determined not to let Xia Qian get close to him. Xia Qian was anxious and tried to pry his legs apart. Qin Fian was even more anxious. He imitated what he did on the bed just now and slammed his head hard against Xia Qian's head. Xia Qian's eyes were seeing stars again. Qin Fian was gasping for breath after slamming his head against Xia Qian. When he spoke, he was out of breath. Xia Qian, if you dare touch me today, you're dead meat. You're dead meat. When Xia Qian saw Qin Fian lying naked on the floor, her nose heated up again. Oh no, my nose is bleeding again. She was probably not far from death. I'm already dead meat. Why would I be afraid of you? You dare not be afraid? Why should I be afraid of you? You think that with Qiu Shaoya's backing and Zhuang Yichen's backing and the fact that you're my sister-in-law's friend, I have to give in to you, right? Let me tell you, if you dare touch a hair on my body again, I'll use 100 ways to kill you. Xia Qian squatted there and slapped her hands. Why are you so agitated? You've seen my chest, so what's wrong with me looking at your place? You can laugh at me, so can I laugh at you? Your temper is really weird. Do you really think that you're a young master? So what if you're a young master? Do you think that a young master doesn't have to take responsibility after seeing a virgin's chest? Dream on. Do you think that my chest is for show? Asterisk. Xia Qian did not go to Qin Fian's front to pull off his pants. Instead, she grabbed Qin Fian's waist and pulled it down. The first time Qin Fian had the thought of killing himself was when Xia Qian touched, scratched, and used condoms to make his second brother stand up majestically. Xia Qian, I'm going to kill you. You bastard. Qin Fian, what's wrong with your brother? Why is he so fangirled? You're not a virgin, are you? Oh, but you're a bottom. You're probably not a virgin anymore. What a pity, your bottom thing is so big. Qin Fian looked at the bed frame in front of him. It was made of wood. He wanted to crash into it without hesitation. He had died 100 times, but he also wanted revenge. Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 735. Xia Qian was a fujoshi who had read countless doji novels and manga. She was very familiar with gay men. She was curious. Being reserved and shy had nothing to do with her. It was about how to make a little bottom feel good. Xia Qian took a bottle of massage oil from the table. Qin Fian kept resisting. In the end, Xia Qian found a belt and tied his knees. This way, it would be very difficult for him to move. Only then could Xia Qian continue her shameless behavior. Xia Qian took a cotton swab dipped in oil and applied it to Qin Fian's anus in disgust. Qin Fian had no strength to scream. Xia Qian, I swear I'm not human if I don't kill you. Xia Qian did not answer his question. I will serve you well. Xia Qian, just you wait. What you gave me today, I will return 100 times more in the future. Hey, petty. Just because I'm not your boyfriend? Don't tell me you have a fixed partner? It can't be, right? I think a little bottom like you must be very fickle. There must be a lot of big guys who want to fuck you. Look at how white your skin is. Your looks are so good. Oh, your skin is so tender, just like a woman's. When the big guys rape you, they must feel so good. I really want to hear you scream and see if it's like those in the manga. Oh, hey, can you also scream, Yamit, Yamit? Xia Qian pinched her throat and screamed, Yamit, a few times. Qin Fian had goosebumps when he heard it. When Xia Qian applied the oil, she took a male penis and aimed it at Qin Fian's but pressed it in with all her might. Qin Fian's heart was not only filled with humiliation, but also with hatred. The thing that was put in the orange flower made him very uncomfortable. Xia Qian frowned and did not dare to act recklessly. However, she was very puzzled. This was not what the calcium tablets and books said. This was not scientific. The rhythm should not be like this. After applying the oil and pushing in, the little bottom should be blushing and groaning. Oh, I can't push in. Why are you so tight? Do you usually give oral sex to Mr. Dagong? Qin Fian was in so much pain that he broke out in cold sweat. Xia Qian, how can there be a monster like you in the world? You still have the nerve to call yourself a virgin. Qin Fian, if a person like you were to be placed among women, you would be a green tea bitch. Do you know that? You've already done it, but you have to pretend that you don't know anything. People like you, you're the sinister side characters in the novels. As she spoke, she gently pushed the thing in her hand a little deeper. As she pushed, she played with Qin Fian's penis. Unexpectedly, it was really like what was written in the book. The condom would swell when she touched it. Qin Fian could clearly feel the humiliation. At this time, an even deeper pain came from his back. To protect. Blood flowed from his forehead. Xia Qian was shocked. She just wanted to take revenge on him. She quickly pulled out the stick that was still stuffed in the man's butt and pushed hard. Qin Fian, don't scare me. Qin Fian heard Xia Qian's voice. So this woman actually knew how to be afraid? Just as Xia Qian's hand reached for Qin Fian's nose, he held his breath. Xia Qian was at a loss. Did he die? She just wanted to take revenge on him. She did not expect him to die. Her hand trembled as she called for an ambulance. The ground was a mess. Xia Qian realized that if the ambulance arrived and saw this scene, it would be bad for her reputation. So she hung up the phone and untied Qin Fian. She wanted to cover him with a robe. The ropes on his hands were untied, and the ropes on his feet were also untied. What Xia Qian did not know was that her good days had finally come to an end. Just as the last knot of the rope was untied by Qin Fian, he used his elbow to hit the woman's forehead. Qin Fian, you set me up. Qin Fian wasn't wearing anything. He couldn't care so much. He pressed Xia Qian on the ground and tied her up quickly. When Xia Qian came back to her senses, Qin Fian had already carried her to the bed. He stood up and walked into the bathroom naked. After a while, there was the sound of flushing in the bathroom, and the sound of splashing water could be heard. Only then did Xia Qian realize that her hands were tied behind her back, just like Qin Fian. Her feet were tied in the same position. There was a little more. Qin Fian was much worse than her. His back was bent, and his hands and feet were tied together. There was no chance for her to turn over and sit up. She was scared, really. Only then did she recall the scene of Qin Fian calmly walking into the bathroom naked. There was no anger on his face. Not at all. It was as if he was eating. His expression was calm, and his posture was relaxed. Her heart was beating very fast, as if there was a ghost behind her. After Qin Fian came out of the bathroom, he had a scarf wrapped around his waist. His perfect figure was standing at the head of the bed. Xia Qian looked at Qin Fian. At this moment, Qin Fian had already put on his glasses. A gentle and beautiful man. Look at his smile. His smile was so warm and kind. He was simply a harmless little teddy bear. Qin Fian's smile was just as Xia Qian had imagined. It was not bad at all. It was very gentle. He asked Xia Qian softly, Qian, do you think I'm handsome? Xia Qian's saliva was stuck in her throat. She was not used to it, and her face turned red. Goosebumps appeared all over her body. It was too scary. Handsome. At this moment, she did not dare to say that he was ugly, right? She only remembered that he said that she was going to die. Now she still liked to die slowly. Leukemia was not poisoning, so she would not die so quickly. At night she could still go to eat KFC. Tomorrow, she could go to an 88 yuan buffet. The day after tomorrow, she could go to a 180 yuan travel ticket. After working for so long, her sister usually gave her some money, but she did not spend her salary. She still had more than 3,000 yuan in savings that she had not spent. She had not spent all the money that her sister had given her to buy a car last time. She had not spent all the money. How could she die? Handsome, really. Young Master Fian, you're too handsome. Qin Fian's hand rested on the place where the towel was stuck, as if he was going to pull it away. He said slowly, really? I think so too. Then do you think mine is big? Is mine bigger or yours bigger? After saying that, he smiled shyly. Xia Qian immediately said affirmatively, of course yours is big. How can mine be compared to yours? Qin Fian had been smiling gently and innocently. His hair was still dripping water, and his eyes behind his glasses were as pure as water. He blinked. Qian Qian, you're so bad. Your chest muscles are not as high as your breasts. Xia Qian's face turned green, and she choked. Fian. Young master, a woman's breasts are the same as a man's. If you want to compare, of course you should compare her breasts with yours. Qian Qian, you really know how to talk. Qin Fian kept calling her Qian Qian, and it made Xia Qian's hair stand on end. She did not see him being fierce, and there was no hypocrisy in his eyes. He was blinking innocently, and the corners of his mouth were not crooked. He was smiling sincerely. But look at his hand on his waist. It was obvious that he wanted to remove the towel. That action felt very uncoordinated. Xia Qian trembled. Young Master Fian, I'm not good with words. I don't know how to talk. No, Qian Qian is so good with words. She knows everything. She knows popcorn, she knows oral sex. Oh, she's so knowledgeable. I don't know anything. I wanted to ask Qian Qian for advice. Qian Qian just said that my private part is very big. Let me show you again, okay? The moment Xia Qian heard the words, popcorn, oral sex, she was reminded of the harsh words Qin Fian had shouted when she was teaching him a lesson. She really wanted to kneel on the ground and bow to Qin Fian, but she could not. No, he couldn't do it. He could only howl, Sir, please spare me. I won't dare to do it again. I beg you, please let me go. Don't talk to me in such a tone. Qin Fian chuckled. Naughty, you're so naughty. His smile was so charming that it made one's bones melt. I still think Qian Qian is more adorable when you're like that. What's wrong with you now? Don't be like this. There are too few girls with true personalities nowadays. Qian Qian's personality is too rare. She's not pretentious or pretentious at all. She's not like those green tea bee asterisk cheese out there. Xia Qian could not bring herself to smile. Qin Fian was too vengeful. He remembered everything she said and was now returning the favor. Qian Qian, I'll show you again. You like to see it anyway. What do you think? Qin Fian pretended to pull the towel away. Xia Qian shook her head. It sounded as if she had met a robber who wanted to kill someone who had seen his true face. Young Master Fian, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. You don't like it? So you don't want to see it? I don't. That means you don't. Then let's see it. The man said as he pulled his towel away. Xia Qian closed her eyes, not daring to look. Just as she closed her eyes, Qin Fian slowly tied the towel back. He slowly bent down and picked up the massage oil on the ground. She closed her eyes. I'm telling you to open your eyes and look at what I'm holding in my hand. What do you want? Xia Qian narrowed her eyes. I think your face is dry, so I'm going to apply some oil on you. I'll just use that cotton swab. You know it's shameful to waste it. No, change it. That cotton swab had stabbed him in the back. Then I'll apply some in your mouth. Sir, please forgive me. I'm really sorry. Qin Fian was not willing to listen to Xia Qian's apology. He only cared about his warm words and then put everything he said into action. Xia Qian looked at the fingers in front of her. They were slender and fair, just like a woman's hand. No matter how she looked at them, they were beautiful. His face was a beauty's face, and his glasses were frameless glasses. But what he did was something a beast would do. The cotton swab that had been applied on Qin Fian's buttocks was stained with oil and smeared on Xia Qian's face. Come and see. Hongcha 866. Chapter 736. In just a short period of time, the two of them had switched places. This time, Xia Qian was the one yelling and screaming about revenge. When the cotton swab was put into Xia Qian's mouth, Xia Qian almost vomited. How disgusting! Her stomach churned and her face turned red. Qin Fian bent over and dipped the cotton swab in oil to brush Xia Qian's teeth. He said calmly, "If you vomit and stink the room, I'll find a spoon and feed you spoonful by spoonful. Do you believe me?" When Xia Qian heard this, she swallowed the food that had just reached her throat. The man said, He snorted. Xia Qian nodded. "I'm asking you if you believe me." "I'll use my mouth, I believe you." Qin Fian's face suddenly darkened. His pupils behind the frames of his glasses shrank. He said fiercely, "Louder." Xia Qian trembled in fear and said loudly, "I believe you." Qin Fian returned to his harmless expression and said gently, That's good. As long as you believe me. Come, I'll brush your tongue and clean it. Open your mouth and stick out your tongue." Xia Qian could only stick out her tongue. The wooden cotton swab handle was longer than the plastic one. Qin Fian only gently held the end. His actions looked very gentle. However, Xia Qian could clearly feel the force on her tongue. What was worse was that the cotton swab was going straight down her throat. She couldn't resist and immediately bit the cotton swab. However, the man turned the cotton swab. The sensitive part of her throat was brushed and she had the urge to vomit just now. Ugh! The man immediately pulled the cotton swab out and pulled a pillow over the woman's mouth. He used force to block it. "I said, if you dare to vomit, I'll use a spoon to feed you clean. You don't believe me, do you?" 10,000 alpacas galloped in Xia Qian's heart. This beast, he did it on purpose. F*CKU. However, her mouth was firmly sealed and she couldn't curse even if she wanted to. Qin Fian knelt on the bed with one leg. He held the cotton swab in one hand and used the pillow to cover Xia Qian's mouth with the other. "Have you swallowed it?" Xia Qian glared at Qin Fian. Was this guy trying to change his expression? But she really didn't dare to do anything to him now. After hesitating for a long time, her expression changed again and again. She looked terrible. He nodded slowly. When he loosened his grip, she would vomit on him. "Swallowed?" He said with a nasal voice. Qin Fian smiled. "If you dare to trick me, I'll strip you naked and hang you at the exit of Haicheng's toll booth. I'll also hang a sign for you that says, Qiu Xiaoya's sister. Even if you kill yourself, I'll make sure you embarrass your sister." Qin Fian quickly deduced from Xia Qian's words that Xia Qian wasn't fearless. She cared a lot about Qiu Xiaoya. Sure enough, he saw the woman's eyes widen like copper bells, and then she swallowed hard. She heaved a sigh of relief and threw the pillow away. "All right, you're tired too. Let's play something else." "Qin Fian, you're bullying a woman. What kind of person are you?" "Xia Qian, what kind of woman are you?" The scissors in the man's hand were shining brightly. He fiddled with the scissors in his hand and stared at the scissors in a daze. "Let's cut the jeans first, then the top, then the bra, and finally the underwear. How about it?" Xia Qian finally realized how much she had gone overboard. But she was a woman. How could she be like this man who had a towel wrapped around his waist and was abusing her? "You're shameless. I'm a woman. How could you do this?" Qin Fian bent down with a smile. He pointed the scissors at Xia Qian's folded pants and started cutting. "Forget it. It's not like this is the first time I've seen you. Last time at the hotel entrance, I saw it very clearly. It's not like we don't know each other well. Since I've already seen it, what's wrong with seeing it again? Also, didn't you just say that I'm a virgin? Do you think that a virgin's dick would be so casually shown to others? Do you think I saw it for nothing? It's so sad for a man like you to have such a big heart." "You're right. It's sad for a man like me to have such a big heart. But aren't I gay? There's still a difference." Xia Qian was speechless. Jeans were not as thin as casual pants and were difficult to tear. Qin Fian felt that there was no need to find something for himself to do, so he just cut all the way to the bottom of the woman's thigh, revealing the milky white cotton underwear inside. He buried his head in cutting the second pair of pants. Xia Qian screamed, "Ah!" You're shameless. When have I ever been shameless? God, why did this conversation sound so familiar? Did he really have to return everything to her like this? What about that thing just now? The one that stabbed him? Xia Qian's clothes were all cut off and thrown everywhere. She didn't want to wait for leukemia to act up and die. She wanted to be like Qin Fian just now and fight for life with death. But she was on the bed now. Where was she supposed to go? Besides, she was tied up in a very difficult position. Her hands and feet were tied together, so she could only tilt her head back. There was no way she could hit the wall. Xia Qian had a pure pear blossom hairstyle. Her face was covered with loose hair, and her face was covered with oil. Her hair was all stuck on her face, and it was particularly uncomfortable. In order to see the frightened expression on her face, Qin Fian picked up the cotton swab that had been thrown away on the ground and slowly parted her hair. Her shiny face was exposed. It was very funny. Qin Fian stood by the bed with a towel wrapped around his waist and laughed. Xia Qian, what did I say just now? I said I'll pay you back 100 times. But I don't usually do things the normal way. Xia Qian, after you messed with me, you'll definitely receive an unforgettable education. Qin Fian felt that stabbing her but was too dirty. It was mainly because he felt dirty. He could ask others to do it, but he couldn't do it himself. So he made a call. Xia Qian clearly heard Qin Fian say that he wanted chili. He wanted the spiciest chili. He wanted to buy it from authentic Sichuan and Hunan restaurants. He also wanted salt. He also wanted pepper. Qin Fian, what are you doing? I'm just an idiot. Can't you forgive me? Xia Qian admitted that she was an idiot. She didn't know what this man wanted. She only knew that he wanted revenge and wanted to mess with her. Most of the time, his smile was gentle and kind. But once she disobeyed him, he would immediately turn hostile and shout at her. He was just like a person with a split personality. How could he be more beautiful than a woman? Qin Fian didn't care that Xia Qian was a woman. He sat down on the other side of the bed. He held the TV remote control in his hand and prepared to watch TV. When Xia Qian saw Qin Fian get out of bed, she panicked. Why, young master, what are you doing? Qin Fian held the TV remote control in one hand and pulled a clean pillow with the other. Then he lay down. He stretched out his long arm and patted Xia Qian's shoulder. Qian, our friendship is really deep. I don't usually touch women, but look at you. Even if I touch you once, it's still touching. Now, I don't feel disgusted when I touch you. Can we be friends? He said, sincerely. Young Master Fian, let's be friends. Let's be friends. Look at how you're still tying me up. Friend, quickly untie me. Qian, as a friend, you should share your friend's burdens, right? Of course. For example, I'm very sad now that you've tied me up. I'm very sad now. Qin Fian threw the TV remote control away and raised his hand to cover his face. He sighed sadly. Sigh, I feel very... What's wrong? Tell me. If I can help you, I'll help you. Qin Fian moved his hand away and turned his body. He looked into Xia Qian's eyes and continued to sigh. I don't touch women. Look at you. You're naked in front of me. I even took off all your clothes. I don't know what to do now. I'm very conflicted now. I just can't find a place to vent. Since you're my friend, let me vent properly. Just a moment. Cooperate, okay? Xia Qian's little face twitched. This pervert, scumbag liar. She thought that he was going to confide in her about some topics. In the end, this scumbag was just trying to instill fear in her. At this moment, the doorbell rang. Qin Fian had just gotten out of bed. Xia Qian had just shouted the word, help, when Qin Fian turned around and said with a smile, My secretary, do you think it's useful for you to call for help? If you don't shut up, I'll get a few more secretaries to come over and blow your orange blossoms. Then, I'll hang you at the toll booth in Haicheng. I'll also hang a sign. Xia Qian shut her mouth. When Qin Fian entered the house with 2 bags and closed the door again, Xia Qian immediately cried. One bag was Qin Fian's clothes. The other bag was full of salt, chili, pepper. Xia Qian felt that Qin Fian was a beast. At this moment, he was slowly putting on his clothes in front of her. After putting on his clothes, he would become a beast in human clothing. The beast in human clothing bent down and picked up the other bag. He looked at Xia Qian with a smile and waved the bag in his hand. He said gently, "Qian Qian, come on. Let me vent. Give me a moment." Although Xia Qian was naked, just like when she stripped off Qin Fian's clothes, she still let her fear overcome her shame at this time. Xia Qian was a fool, so she wasn't that afraid of many things. Other than being afraid of ghosts, her reaction to other things was always half a beat slower than others. Even though she was half a beat slower than others, Xia Qian was still scared at this moment. She was so scared that she cried and begged Qin Fian with all her might. Qin Fian blocked all the sounds outside his ears. He took off his fake watch and carefully put it in his trouser pocket. He put on the rubber gloves used for housework and opened the chili, pepper, and salt. There were protrusions in the palm of the gloves. It was probably designed by the manufacturer to prevent the bowls from slipping. However, Qin Fian wore such gloves and rubbed them hard on Xia Qian's body. What did it mean to have tender feelings for the fairer sex? Qin Fian never had such an idiom in his eyes. He had always been patient with Xia Qian. If it weren't for Zhuang Yichen and his sister-in-law, he would have dealt with Xia Qian long ago. However, this woman didn't seem to appreciate it at all. She took an inch and wanted a mile. A powerful novel. Song Shu 566. Chapter 737. Even if the woman he massaged was always crying and begging for mercy, he could still make himself unable to hear her voice at all. He hated women who cried the most. Qian was ashamed of everything. Women should always be smart, witty, humorous, kind, and cute. Xia Qian was definitely not a woman. Qin Fian was not sexually assaulting Xia Qian, he was purely massaging her. When her legs were red, he began to rub her stomach, then her chest and arms. Finally, he loosened the ropes around her hands and feet and began to scrub her back. Qin Fian used a lot of strength, but his words were gentle and touching. "Qian Qian, how's my technique? It's many times better than those Thai masseurs, right?" "Young master, I'm wrong, please forgive me." Xia Qian could no longer scold Qin Fian. She had never encountered such a situation and had no idea what this man was trying to do. When Qin Fian bent down to rub Xia Qian's back, there was a large piece of flesh on her back. It was wrinkled and disgusting. He didn't pay much attention to it just now. He frowned. "The scar on your back is really ugly, but the rest of your body is fine. My sister said that my back is full of burns. I've been getting skin grafts every year, and now there's only this one left. Young Master Fian, please stop rubbing. I don't know if the grafts will spoil." 55555 Xia Qian sobbed and pitifully tried to gain sympathy. Qin Fian did not like people who had plastic surgery. He looked at her back in disgust. "Skin grafts? You actually had plastic surgery? You used to be very dark, but now you're so white?" Xia Qian really wanted Qin Fian to be merciful. "I've had plastic surgery before too. Don't rub it on my face. My skin is not, mostly my own. Young Master Fian, please don't rub it on me." But the more Qin Fian heard Xia Qian say not to rub her face, the more he rubbed on her face. Qin Fian pinched the woman's chin with a pair of plastic gloves. "Where have you had plastic surgery?" Xia Qian confessed truthfully, "I used to have double eyelids. I used to have very fat single eyelids." Qin Fian stared at Xia Qian's eyes. "Fat single eyelids? It's gone." Xia Qian was afraid that Qin Fian would be disappointed, so she said, "That's all. The rest of the wounds are just skin grafts." "Oh, burns." Qin Fian's hand paused, and then he continued to immerse himself in his work. She applied some water on Xia Qian's body and rubbed it again. "Sprinkle salt and rub." He rubbed all the chili peppers on her body and finally stuffed all the chili peppers into her anus. When he was done, he saw that the woman on the bed had no strength to scream. Her whole body was burning red, and he felt so good. Xia Qian's body was burning with pain. Every part of her body felt like it was being burnt. She no longer scolded or begged for mercy. Her consciousness was getting blurry. Her body was on fire. Every inch of her body was on fire. She couldn't see her whole body turning red. She could smell the burning smell. There was an 11 or 12-year-old girl with a ponytail standing in a courtyard house in a village in horror. The large beams of the house had collapsed. The beams had been burnt black by the fire and had cracked into turtle shells. The surroundings were filled with thick smoke, making it difficult for people to see clearly. However, they seemed to be able to smell the thick smoke, making them choke with a tear-inducing smell. There were 2 adults sleeping beside her, a man and a woman in their 30s. They were covered in burns and didn't move at all. On the other side of the courtyard, there was a little girl sitting on the ground and crying uncontrollably. The girl didn't dare to move. Pieces of burning wooden beams were falling from above her head. She only dared to lift her sleeves to wipe her tears. Then she looked at the little girl with ponytails and cried her heart out. The little girl with ponytails ran from the other side of the corridor. She ran to the little girl with ponytails and said, "Sister, run. Bing Dan, I sprained my ankle. I can't stand up. I'll carry you. Bing Dan, run quickly. It's going to collapse. My parents are dead. I won't run. I'll carry you. You go find your parents." There were waves of thick smoke. The fire was burning more and more fiercely under the gusts of wind. Xia Qian couldn't see clearly. She could only see the pillars falling and the beams collapsing. The beams were burnt into black charcoal, and the black charcoal was covered in demon-like flames. Xia Qian could hear the sounds of people putting out the fire from all directions. She clearly saw the little girl with ponytails carrying the little girl with ponytails on her waist. As they ran, something fell down. It was hot and heavy. Xia Qian felt it. She threw the little girl with ponytails away. She looked at the middle-aged man and woman in the courtyard and cried. Mom, her whole body was on fire. Someone was shouting, "Little Bing Dan, little Bing Dan." Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian convulsing. Her whole body was as red as a boiled crab. The bed was a mess. Chili peppers were spilled all over the bed. The woman was placed on the bed like a piece of cured meat for him to vent his anger. He looked coldly at his masterpiece. Then he took off his glove and put on his fake watch. Dad, the almond-shaped eyes behind his spectacles narrowed. He bent down and leaned close to the woman's ear. He quietly listened to the muffled murmurs. Run quickly. Qin Fian stood up. He was a little anxious. His hands were trembling. He clenched his fists and pressed them against his open mouth. His good-looking brows were furrowed. Haicheng was a provincial city. Qiu Shaoya and the rest were all from Haicheng. The children here didn't call their parents daddy. Their mommy was already very kind. Ama? There were no ethnic minorities here. He bent down again and poked her face with his white fingers. Xia Qian, Xia Qian? I want fruit candies. Today I want 2 pieces. Qiu Shaoya and Zhuang Yichen didn't know that Xia Qian was sent to the hospital. Jiang Zhao was in the ward. Looking at Qin Fian's sloppy appearance, he gritted his teeth. Qin Fian, let's see how you explain this to Yichen. You know that Qiu Shaoya treasures her sister like her own life. Just wait for Qiu Shaoya to fight with you. Hey brother, be fair. I'm just taking revenge on her. You didn't see how she treated me. Oh, so I'm just going to let her torture me and not fight back at all? Then won't she ride on my head in the future? Qiu Shaoya will fight with me? When Xia Qian was messing with me, shouldn't she be waiting for the Qin family to fight with her? Qin Fian didn't look Jiang Zhao in the eye. He leaned against the wall and crossed his arms, retorting loudly with a guilty conscience. Jiang Zhao hadn't been happy about being a father for more than a few months. He was playing at the amusement park with his wife and brother-in-law when he received such a call. He was furious. You're the same as Xia Qian? You know that you're always stupid. Are you also stupid like her? Qin Fian didn't feel good being lectured. He stood up straight and said self-righteously, "There are so many stupid people. I should give in to them, right?" Jiang Zhao said sternly, "She has a special relationship with Yichen. Can't you at least show her some mercy for Yichen's sake?" How can I show her mercy? She didn't show any mercy when she messed with me. Call Zhuang Yichen. We can't keep this a secret. Jiang Zhao thought about it and took out his phone. Qin Fian snatched Jiang Zhao's phone and took out his own. I'll take responsibility for what I did. I'll talk to him myself. He dialed the number. Yichen, come to Renxin Hospital. I applied chili all over Xia Qian. She's unconscious now and is on an 4 drip. There was no Zhuang Yichen's voice on the other end of the line. Instead, there was Xiao Ye's roar. Qin Fian, I'm going to kill you. Qin Fian trembled when he heard this. It was as if she really wanted to kill him. Xiao Ye threw the phone and rushed into the kitchen without taking her hand back. She grabbed a kitchen knife, opened the door in her slippers, and rushed out. Zhuang Yichen's expression changed and he quickly followed her. Xiao Ye drove her own car and sped all the way, ignoring the traffic lights. Zhuang Yichen's car was behind Xiao Ye's. He caught up with her a few times, but Xiao Ye shook him off. Zhuang Yichen felt that the situation was serious and he quickly called Qin Fian. Qin Fian, you're AF * King Beast. You know that Xiao Ye cares about her sister, but you're still so F * King Ruthless. No matter how deep the hatred is, can't you bear it for my sake? F * CK, no matter how much she goes, she's just a woman. Let me tell you, Xiao Ye is going to find you with a kitchen knife. I can't keep up with her car. You better hide. ******. When Qin Fian received Zhuang Yichen's call, he instinctively felt conflicted. He wasn't the one at fault, so why was everyone blaming him? He pushed his glasses up his nose and said coldly, let her come over. Xia Qian was the one who offended me first. I didn't provoke her. You can ask Xiao Ye to come over. She dared to use a knife on me, so I'll do the same to her. I won't admit to anything. Qin Fian. Zhuang Yichen stepped on the accelerator. He didn't care about lane changes, traffic lights, or sidewalks. He didn't care about anything that could be passed. He just stepped on the accelerator and rushed over. I apologize on behalf of Xia Qian, but you should avoid Xiao Ye and give in to her. She's angry now. Are you really going to go against her? Qin Fian pondered for a while. What can I do? You all think that I'm in the wrong? How am I in the wrong? Can you have some basis for your words? What did I do wrong? Xia Qian kidnapped me. If I didn't injure my head, she wouldn't have let me go. If I was the one who was injured today, and someone tried to attack her with a knife, would you ask her to give in? When you speak, don't always take your stand. You all have your stand, but I don't. My stand has to disappear because of the person you're siding with, right? Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone. He couldn't refute Qin Fian's words. He could only drive the car faster. Xiao Ye's car rushed into the hospital. She didn't stop in the parking lot. She picked up the kitchen knife on the passenger seat and wrapped it with fabric in the car before rushing to the inpatient department. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 738. As soon as Qin Fian hung up, Xiao Ye entered the ward, holding something wrapped in fabric in her hand. Jiang Zhao looked at it and frowned. Xiao Ye was still wearing slippers. In front of the two men who were over 185 meters tall, she looked like a little chick. Jiang Zhao walked over. Xiao Ye, sit down for a while. The doctor gave Xia Qian an injection. Her fever should be gone soon. Xiao Ye pushed Jiang Zhao away, her eyes fixed on Qin Fian, who was leaning against the window. Qin Fian's attitude wasn't as good as Jiang Zhao's. Even though Xia Qian was hospitalized because of him, he didn't feel guilty. If he did feel guilty, it would have been washed away by the questioning of others. He crossed his arms and looked at Xiao Ye coldly, his posture saying, "What can you do to me?" Xiao Ye walked over. Qin Fian's mouth twitched. "What? Are you going to stab me with a knife? If you have the ability, go ahead. If you dare to hurt a single hair on my head today, I'll break the limbs of everyone in the Qiu family. Don't think that you can act all high and mighty just because you're with Yichen. Why don't you take a look at who gave you face?" Qin Fian's disgust towards Xiao Ye came entirely from Xia Qian. He had never looked down on her before. But now, no matter how he looked at her, she was an eyesore. Jiang Zhao walked over quickly and slapped Qin Fian on the shoulder. At this time, don't talk so much. Are you adding fuel to the fire? He turned to block Xiao Ye's footsteps. Xiao Ye, this isn't Fian's fault alone. Qian Qian kidnapped Fian first, and Fian was also tortured by Qian Qian. Xiaoya sneered. Even so, the one lying unconscious on the bed right now is Qian Qian, not Qin Fian. The fabric holding the kitchen knife fell to the ground. Xiaoya raised the kitchen knife and threw it at Qin Fian. Qin Fian thought that Xiaoya would raise the knife and slash at him. He didn't expect her to throw it through the air. He dodged, and the blade fell on his wrist, which instinctively covered his head. Dang! A loud sound was heard. Fian! Jiang Zhao didn't react in time and couldn't defend himself from the front and back. Xiaoya wanted to rush over to snatch the kitchen knife from the ground, but two long arms suddenly wrapped around her from behind. At this time, the man behind her tightened his grip. Xiaoya cried out in grief. Zhuang Yichen! Let go of me, let go! I'm going to kill that beast. Zhuang Yichen tightened his grip on Xiaoya. If you kill someone, you'll go to jail. Who cares about your sister? She'll be discharged in 2 days. Where can she find you? Qin Fian stared blankly at his wrist. The bright surface of his wrist had already been broken by the sharp edge of the kitchen knife. He raised his other hand and pressed it against his forehead. Jiang Zhao felt that the atmosphere wasn't changing. He reached out and pulled him. Fian! Qin Fian slapped away Jiang Zhao's hand. He shook his shoulders, took off the glasses on his nose bridge and smashed them on the ground. He raised his foot and crushed them. Don't meddle in other people's business. Qiu Xiaoya smashed my surface. I won't let anyone F***king meddle in today's matter. Zhuang Yichen had always known that Qin Fian was wearing a fake watch. So he never wore the watch in his collection. At least, when he met Qin Fian, he never wore that watch. Fian, let's forget about this. Xiaoya smashed your watch. I'll pay for it. I have an identical one at home. Who cares about your watch? Qin Fian walked step by step towards Xiaoya. Xiaoya was like a fighting rooster preparing for war. Her feathers stood on end. Jiang Zhao knew Qin Fian's personality. He liked to pretend to be refined, afraid that others would think that he wasn't cultured enough. He always wore all kinds of glasses without lenses. He said that wearing these things made him seem easier to get along with and made it easier to do business. His spectacles were his outer clothes, but he had viciously stepped on them and shattered them. He was angry. Qin Fian was angry. Today's matter wasn't started by him, but everyone was blaming him. It made him angry. He felt wronged. He could endure it. After all, as Qiu Xiaoya said, the one lying unconscious on the bed was Xia Qian, not him. But Qiu Xiaoya smashed his watch. He couldn't take it anymore. Qin Fian grabbed a stool, raised it, and threw it at Xiaoya. Zhuang Yichen had never seen Qin Fian hit his friend or his friend's woman. This was the most serious thing he had ever done. In this circle of friends, everyone knew how to endure. If they wanted to mess with someone, they would do it behind their backs. If they were forced to do it openly, then it would be like a volcano erupting. Hugging Xiaoya, he turned around and smashed the stool onto Zhuang Yichen's back. Xiaoya was stunned. Seeing Zhuang Yichen block the stool for her, her eyes turned red. Zhuang Yichen snorted through his nose. Qin Fian's target was Qiu Xiaoya. He didn't hurt her, so he couldn't take it lying down. He raised the stool, intending to go around Zhuang Yichen's back and hit Xiaoya. Jiang Zhao saw that Qin Fian wasn't going to give up until he got what he wanted. It was useless to persuade him. At first, he was afraid of his words, "I'm not done with whoever dares to interfere in today's matter." But now, he couldn't do anything about it. When he hugged Qin Fian, he realized that his little brother was too hard to control. When Qin Fian thought about his broken watch, he felt a lump in his throat. It was so bad that he almost cried. If he wasn't wearing this watch today, his wrist would have been broken by Qiu Xiaoya. Qin Fian went crazy and wanted to take revenge on Xiaoya. Xiaoya was also shocked by Qin Fian's behavior. Jiang Zhao kept persuading him, "Fian, I'll take your watch and get it fixed. Can you change it to an identical watch cover?" Other than Zhuang Yichen, Jiang Zhao also knew that Qin Fian was wearing a fake watch. Jiang Zhao knew that Qin Fian had been wearing this watch for more than 10 years. A 15-year-old boy wouldn't have bought such a big gold watch with so many diamonds. At that time, Qin Fian had already started wearing it. Some people said that it was tacky for a teenager to wear it. He didn't care. One could imagine the importance of a watch. Mom? Mom? Xia Qian's cries were like a weak bomb exploding in the room. Xiaoya broke free from Zhuang Yichen. She didn't care if Qin Fian wanted to take revenge on her. She ran over to Xia Qian, who was covered in ice packs, and didn't know where to put her hands. Her tears fell on the ice packs. Qin. Mom, I want 2 fruit candies. Xiaoya covered her mouth and looked at Xia Qian crying in her sleep. She sobbed. Fruit candies. Qian, are you orange-flavored? Qin Fian was stunned. He frowned and looked at Xiaoya comfortingly as she caressed Xia Qian's forehead. Jiang Zhao sighed in relief, but he didn't dare to let go. Qian, do you want the ones that are like orange petals? Qian, the fruit candies have been improved. Sister has better candies. I'll give you better candies. I want 2 orange-petaled ones. Qin Fian swayed. His head started to hurt. He pushed Jiang Zhao away and left the room. As he walked, he felt his head hurt. He sighed. He looked up at the sky. The white clouds were quickly turning dark. They were getting lower and lower, making it hard for him to stand. Xia Qian kept calling for her mom. She refused to answer Xiaoya. Xiaoya knelt by the bed anxiously. She saw Xia Qian's exposed skin turn red and black. She cried until her voice was hoarse. Bing Dan, sister is calling you. Can you hear me? Qin Fian drove back to the Qin mansion. Young master, you're so early today. Mom happily went to take Qin Fian's briefcase. Where's Grandpa? The old maid said with a mysterious smile. He's in the study. He's writing. I'll go over. Young master, what do you want to eat tonight? I like everything you make. Mom loved to hear this. She was so happy that her eyes narrowed into slits. Qin Fian pushed open the door to Qin Rongfang's study. He put on his usual smile. Grandpa, you're back. I don't have much to do today. Did the sun set in the east today? You came over for dinner without calling after work? Qin Rongfang had the demeanor of an immortal. He didn't look up. He held his sleeve in one hand and a brush in the other. He was inscribing on the landscape that he was painting. Qin Fian walked to the side of the yellow rosewood desk. The inkstone was placed in front of him. He held the black inkstone in his hand, making his knuckles look white and slender. When he ground the inkstone, he said slowly, Grandpa, have all the people who kidnapped me been caught? Qin Rongfang frowned. The brush stopped in midair. He put it on the shelf and looked at Qin Fian, who looked a little lonely. Of course. Those who dared to kidnap my grandson, didn't I break their bones one by one? Grandpa, I don't think we caught all of them at once, right? You don't believe in Grandpa's methods? Qin Fian shook his head. I keep feeling that something is wrong. Since they were talking about the kidnapping 10 years ago, Qin Rongfang couldn't let his guard down. He rested his chin on his hand. You came back so early today because of this? Have a cup of tea and tell me slowly. Qin Fian put down the ink in his hand and wiped his hands with a wet towel. The aroma of tea filled the air. Qin Fian didn't like drinking tea. He liked coffee. No matter if it was bitter or had milk or sugar, it had a stronger taste than tea. He liked the taste of something fresh and more intense. Even if Qin Rongfang had opinions about his preferences, he wouldn't interfere too much. At most, he would say that he worshipped foreign things. Today, looking at his grandson who was frowning after drinking his partner's coffee, Qin Rongfang made the tea even more slowly. Fian, what do you want to say? Grandpa, how many people were involved in the kidnapping of me? 9. Qin Fian said again. But at that time, you paid the ransom. After the kidnappers were all caught, the ransom disappeared. Don't you think there were some fish that escaped the net? Qin Rongfang pondered for a moment and said, it was said that the ransom was taken away by the local villagers. No one was willing to say anything. We checked and it was indeed so. Looking at the thoughtful Qin Fian, Qin Rongfang asked, Fian, you also hid some things from Grandpa back then, right? Qin Fian didn't say anything. Qin Rongfang said again. Since you came back, I found that you were a little strange. How am I strange? Hongcha 866. Chapter 739. Qin Rongfang took a sip of tea. Grandpa has asked you many times, but you were unwilling to tell me. I was also afraid that the incident had traumatized you, so I didn't ask. You bought a small sugar factory, the machines were old, the ingredients were primitive, and there were only a few old workers. The factory was small and uninnovative, and the wages of the workers were not low. It was equivalent to feeding a few people there. You never liked to eat sugar, and if you wanted to eat, you would occasionally peel the kind produced by your own sugar factory. Speaking of our Qin family, we're the wealthiest family in High City. Yet, my own grandson wears a fake watch all day long. Although outsiders never say anything about it, I'm puzzled. If you can't afford it, Grandpa can buy it for you. But are you someone who can't afford it? Ever since you came back that time, you didn't get close to female classmates. You even asked me to tell the school leaders that girls can't sit around you. At that time, I thought you wanted to focus on your studies and was afraid that girls would harass you, so I didn't think much of it. But later, you became more and more ridiculous, and even told the public that you were gay. Fian, Grandpa doesn't know how much trauma that kidnapping caused to you, but the psychological consultation said that the impact was not big. But with your various changes, Grandpa can't help but worry. You're not young anymore, and Grandpa is old. Grandpa can't force you to do anything, but you're the only child of the Qin family now. You're right. Your sister-in-law is pregnant with twins now, and you want to give one of them to Grandpa to take the surname Qin. But if it's a boy and a girl, do you think Grandpa will have the face to snatch a grandson from the Jiang family to take the surname Qin? Even if Grandpa Jiang agrees, Grandpa can't do such a thing. Zhao Zhao's job doesn't allow him to have a second child. Grandpa can't do such things that make things difficult for others. Can you understand Grandpa's painstaking efforts? Qin Fian did not answer. Grandpa, these years I've been looking for someone. A girl? Qin Rongfang was so agitated that he almost knocked over the teacup in his hand. Tell me, Grandpa will find her for you. Qin Fian lit a cigarette in annoyance. He rarely smoked. At home, Qin Fian did not allow the younger generation to smoke in front of him. Today, he let Qin Fian do as he pleased. He even patiently waited for him to finish smoking before talking to him. Qin Fian exhaled a puff of smoke. The place where I was kidnapped was Wanderer Village, but I lived in Starfield Town for a period of time. I took the bus back to Sea City by myself, so I didn't tell you about this. Qin Rongfang's joy was suddenly covered up. You bastard! You didn't mention this part. What if there are some clues missing? What if something escapes the net? Qin Fian sighed. I was afraid that you would disturb the peace there. My benefactor lives in Starfield Town, and I visit him every year. In fact, I only didn't go the first year because you kept a close eye on me. But after that, every time I went, I only saw an empty courtyard. Then why are you telling me all this now? I was thinking that you hid the information about the kidnapping of me very well. Can you show it to me now? I want to see if it's because you saved me and if that family was implicated. How could it be that they disappeared overnight? The villagers all said that the family went to the market and never went back. Qin Fian took a deep puff of the cigarette. After a while, he exhaled the smoke. The smoke swirled in front of him, grayish-white. It was smoking, and those wisps were fading away, circle by circle, but some memories seemed to be engraved in his bones and could not fade away at all. Hey, my name is Bing Dan. You country people's names are really old-fashioned. Amma said that my name is very nice. Here's some candy for you. Today, Amma gave me 2 orange-flavored candies. Look, these orange petals look like oranges. We have a lot of candies at home. They're better than this. Then give me your candy. I don't give my candy to outsiders. I'll get you out of here. When you grow up and marry me, I won't be an outsider anymore. I can eat your candy. Okay, if I get you out of here, I'll give you my candy. No. You still want to marry me. Okay, I'll marry you. Then you can't divorce your wife like Father Nyo on the slope. Your mouth can't be like those people on TV, and you can't just let others kiss you. Okay, if you get me out of here, I won't kiss anyone else in the future. I'll only kiss my wife. Tomorrow, I'll let the children from the same village come over to herd the cows. I'll also bring my family's cows. My family is very rich, and we have 3 cows. When the time comes, I'll fence the cows, put you in a straw basket, and get you out of here. No one will find out. When you marry me, I'll ask my ama to give me the 3 cows as my dowry. What do you think? Not enough. You have to give me a watch as my dowry. I want a very expensive watch. Only then can I marry you. Okay, if you're good looking, I'll give you a watch. Asterisk asterisk asterisk, he didn't like being threatened. But at that time, he was already bored in the cellar. As long as someone said that they wanted to get him out, he was willing to agree to anything. Anyway, after he got out, he could go back on his word. Bing Dan told him that in her village, the 14-year-old swallow was already married, and the 16-year-old red plum was already a mother. Unbelievable, country people. In fact, most of the children in their teens had their first awakening of love. But at that time, he felt that his aesthetic standards shouldn't be like that. Bing Dan-er's single eyelids weren't good-looking. The children in the village ran around happily outside, and their skin was darker than the girls in the city. Bing Dan-er said that her family was very rich. In order to show that her family was very rich, she always stuffed meat into his bowl. She said that her family was very rich, and she ate too much. She was annoyed when she saw meat. Bing Dan was only 12 years old at that time. Qin Fian's vision was a little blurry. He touched his nose. Looking at the cracked surface on his wrist, his heart ached. He didn't know where she stole this watch. She went to the city with her pa that time and didn't get hurt when they came back. Even her pa didn't know. In his eyes, Bing Dan was extremely smart. At that time, she probably wanted to prepare a dowry and marry him. She even said shamelessly in front of him, "I stole it because that person said that this was the most expensive watch." Bing Dan was extremely smart. The kidnappers hid him in the refugee village. There were mountains everywhere, and there were many potato sellers in the mountain valleys. No one knew. But Bing Dan could get a group of cowherd boys to cover up. They could smuggle him out of the potato cellar and steal the watch as a dowry. Bing Dan had a pair of single eyelids, but her eyes were especially bright. It was her pupils that were especially bright, and she always had a lot of ideas. He remembered that she always ran away happily. Back then, Bing Dan liked to fold candy wrappers. She would keep the candy wrappers after eating it and fold them into butterflies or dragonflies. At that time, she brought him out of the refugee village and brought him back to Starfield Town. He stayed at her house, and there were candy wrappers and dragonflies strung together under the mosquito net. When he left, she gave him packets of candy wrappers. When he couldn't find her, he followed the address on the candy wrappers, found the sugar factory, and bought it. He originally wanted to torture Xia Qian to death, but when he heard Xia Qian call out, "Mama," again and again, he had the urge to cry. At night, in Xia Qian's ward at Renxin Hospital, Qin Fian peeled off the candy wrappers. The candy wrappers made a cracking sound, and the petals of the past started to rain in his mind. It rained flowers all over the sky. He pinched open Xia Qian's mouth. Xiaoya was about to kick up a fuss when she saw the hard candy that was like an orange petal. She froze. In the next second, Qin Fian had already thrown the candy into her mouth. Qin Fian pulled a stool across the bed and sat down facing Xiaoya. "Xia Qian should be from Starfield Town, right? How did you know?" Qin Fian's heart skipped a beat, but he still hoped that he could calm down. Maybe she wasn't. A 12-year-old girl couldn't have changed so much in just 10 years. His impression of Bing Dan was completely different from Xia Qian. Bing Dan was 10,000 times smarter than Xia Qian. Then why did all of their families disappear in just one night? I've also checked, and they don't have any relatives. Qin Fian couldn't help but laugh when he saw Xia Qian, who was sleeping soundly, sipping the candy in her mouth with a biu-biu sound. Only then did Xiaoya see the candy wrappers in Qin Fian's hands. These kinds of candies didn't exist anymore. Bing Dan liked to carry these candies with her when she was young. She stared at Qin Fian for a long time before saying, "We're very distant cousins. The locals don't know." Late at night, Qin Fian walked out of the hospital. He started to beat his chest with all his might. As he beat, he kicked everything that could be kicked. The person he had been looking for more than 10 years had been tortured so badly by him. Xiao Ya's sobbing voice still echoed in his ears as she recounted, "At that time, they came to visit our relatives. At first, I despised them because they were from the countryside and I didn't like them very much. My mother always praised her for being hardworking, so I disliked her even more. At that time, our family went to the countryside to avoid the summer heat. A fire broke out at a farmhouse and her parents were burned to death. She was seriously injured because she tried to save me. My parents almost used up all their savings for her treatment and skin grafting. She didn't have many burns on her face, but her eyelids were burned. My mother said that girls shouldn't have scars on their faces, so she had her double eyelids cut along the scar. When she woke up, she couldn't remember anything. She didn't even recognize me. She didn't even know who her parents were. Actually, this was the result we all hoped for, so we gave her a new name." Qin Fian didn't know what to do. He was still a little uncomfortable and couldn't get used to it. The person he had been looking for was right there, but he couldn't recognize her. She had gone through so much suffering and had to undergo skin grafting on a large scale. Xiao Ya said that everyone in the family felt guilty and almost went bankrupt for Xia Qian's treatment. They were afraid that if something went wrong, it would cause a girl to regret it for the rest of her life. When he was rubbing her body, he heard her begging him. She said that the skin on her body was all grafted and would be damaged if he rubbed it. With a loud bang, he punched himself in the chest again. Those sobs and cries for mercy were like a demon's voice in his ears. Qin Fian trembled a little. He sat in the car and locked himself in. He laid the seat flat. He thought that he might as well sleep like a log. When he was in the dark potato cellar, he only ate sweet potatoes. Come and see. Xinwu 799. Chapter 740. She would always knock on the wooden board. When she heard his voice, she would throw a candy to him through the crack, saying that her family was rich, so she had candy to eat. Sometimes she would wrap a boiled egg in the paper of her exercise book and throw it in for him. Later, she said that she didn't want to marry him at first, but because he was pretty, even though her family was rich and giving him 3 cows was a little too much, he was pretty and she thought about it. The darkest time of his life was when he was 15 years old. When he was kidnapped, the brightest time was when she threw food for him to eat every day. Initially, he wanted to go back on his word. He still felt that Bing Dan wasn't pretty. When he saw her face the moment he came out of the cellar, he wanted to go back on his word. Bing Dan was a girl with single eyelids and wasn't pretty. How could a child's words count? But he felt that he was a man. Even if he wanted to go back on his word, he had to find her and make things clear to her. Even if he wanted to go back on his word, he still had to sit at the table and make things clear, right? Moreover, he was the young master of the Qin family. If he didn't make things clear, he wouldn't be able to get a girlfriend or marry a wife. He had to be responsible for his promise. But every time he went to Starfield Town, the things wrapped around his pride became thinner and thinner. Every time he sat on the train, he would think that single eyelids weren't pretty, but her eyes were especially bright and were actually very pretty. Anyway, he would force himself to marry her. After all, he was a man. How could he go back on his word? Every time he went to Starfield Town, he brought more and more things with him. He always wondered if she liked more things now that she was a little older. She was 15 or 16 years old, and she was 18 to 19 years old. Girls always like different things. CDs, MP3s, MP4s, MP5s, and girls' favorite things were cell phones, tablets, and dresses. He didn't know if she had grown taller, but he always bought one for each age. Those things that he felt that the children in the countryside wouldn't have, he would bring them year after year. He always remembered her raising her chin and saying to him, "Our family is very rich. Our family is the richest family in Starfield Town. If you marry me, you'll be very proud. Our family has 3 cows and a big house with about 10 rooms. There aren't many families in Starfield Town with more than 10 rooms." She put the kitchen, chicken pen, cow pen, and dog kennel. They were all included in the layout of her house. When he lived in her house, she always threatened him, "Don't think that you're so great just because you're beautiful. There are many people who want to be our son-in-law. Among those people, there are also some who are good-looking. Humph, there are even people who are better looking than you." Until one day, when she stuffed some money into his hands, she said with reddened eyes, "My mother said that you're the child of a rich family, so you should go back home. My mother said that your family will be worried. My mother said that your family is richer than mine, so you can wear different clothes and shoes every day. We can't afford them. My mother asked me to send you to the train station and let you go back to the provincial capital." That day when she sent him to the car, she only asked him, "Do you still mean what you said?" He just nodded. She grinned. Let's go. When I enter junior high school, there will definitely be a lot of boys who like me. If you don't hurry up and marry me, I will be snatched away." After the car drove out, he stuck his head out to look at her and saw that she was wiping her tears. When she saw him stick his head out, she immediately smiled at him. At that time, his eyes were also blurry. Other people said that children in the countryside were shy, but he had never thought so. This was because there were many girls in the countryside who got married at the age of 14 or 15. Many of them stopped studying and got married when they entered junior high school. In fact, he went to Starfield Town many times a year. He was really worried that she would get married before finishing junior high school. However, Bing Dan said that her family was rich and she didn't have to quit school to get married. She still had to go to university because she was the only child in the family and her parents could afford it. Thinking of this, he wasn't so anxious. The more he didn't see her in these years, the deeper his impression became. It was so deep that he couldn't erase it from his mind. Later on, it was so deep that he felt that there was no girl who was prettier than Bing Dan. Bing Dan had the world's prettiest single eyelids and the world's prettiest eyes. They sparkled like stars. There was always sweat on the tip of her little nose, and she was cuter than anyone else. Her teeth were like small beads, and when she bit on the hard fruit candy, there was a crunching sound. When she smiled at the sunlight, her little white teeth reflected the light. Qin Fian felt that water had entered his ears. They were wet and he casually reached out to touch them. His chest heaved up and down and he spurted out from time to time. He took a deep breath and then sniffled. Finally, he raised his arm and covered his eyes. He didn't dare to stay in Xia Qian's ward. He didn't dare to think about how he had treated her. He couldn't even forgive himself. How could he let others forgive him? Qin Fian turned over. His body curled up into a ball. His sobs were very suppressed. The depression in his heart made his entire stomach ache. He didn't know what he did wrong. God just had to go against him. There were a few times when Xia Qian approached him, provoked him, kissed him, and took off his pants. He didn't kill her because he lost his kiss. He should have sensed something was wrong. But he didn't have any thoughts. He didn't threaten Dan. Did he bring this upon himself? The surface she gave him was also broken. After so many years, it hadn't been broken. Now that it was broken, what did it mean? Was it an ominous order? Qin Fian had never been so impatient. He anxiously kicked the steering wheel with his long legs. Every kick, he exerted all his strength. After kicking for a while, he finally sat up when he had no more strength left in him. Why should I be sad? Why should I be sad? I found the person I wanted to find. Shouldn't I be happy? I didn't know that she was Dan. Didn't she mess with me too? Does she want to break off the engagement because of this? No way. How could an engagement that had been arranged for more than 10 years be broken off just like that? No such thing. Qin Fian pulled out a few pieces of tissue, wiped his tears, and opened the car door. He got out of the car and straightened his back. Finally, he realized that something was wrong and got back into the car. When he started the engine, he realized that the steering wheel was a little crooked. Jiang Zhao and Zhuang Yichen had been in the ward the whole time because they were afraid that Xiaoya and Qin Fian would fight. But just now, they clearly felt that the two of them didn't quarrel anymore. There seemed to be an indescribable tacit understanding between them. In fact, even Xiaoya couldn't figure out what was going on. She guessed that Qin Fian really wanted her to get better. Everyone saw Qin Fian's abnormality. Jiang Zhao guessed something, but he couldn't be sure. So, he waited. What he waited for was Qin Fian entering the ward with a big bouquet of roses. He had his usual smile. The glasses on his nose bridge fit his face perfectly. Looking at the person lying on the bed, one could think of a word: a beast in human clothing. He didn't mind the awkwardness of making a scene during the day. He waved his hand familiarly and said hi to everyone. Xiao Ya's mouth twitched. When Qin Fian came in with a serious expression, she felt a little better. But this cheeky smile of his was really asking for a beating. Qin Fian handed the roses to Xiao Ya. Zhuang Yichen snatched it and threw it on the other empty bed. Qin Fian, what are you doing? What am I doing? You're so annoying. Qin Fian rolled his eyes at Zhuang Yichen. He picked up the flowers on the empty bed and handed them to Xiao Ya. This time, he didn't give Zhuang Yichen a chance. He knelt on one knee. Sister Xiao Ya, marry Xia Qian to me. Pft. Pft. Xiao Ya, Zhuang Yichen, and Jiang Zhao. The three of them almost spat at the same time. Jiang Zhao felt that this was a very valuable piece of news. He was a little excited and quickly walked out of the ward to call Qin Rongfeng. Grandpa, did you know? Fian proposed to a girl. Qin Rongfeng was drinking tea and almost spat it out. He clutched his chest and quickly made himself lie flat on the sofa to calm his heart before asking, Really? Really? But that girl is in the hospital now. You know her too. Last time, she ate stinky tofu and kissed Fian. Later, when Yun Yi and I returned to Jiang District for our wedding, she was the bridesmaid, Xia Qian. Qin Rongfeng wasn't disappointed. Instead, he asked curiously, Her? Yes, but she's in Renxin Hospital. It's all Fian's fault. Qin Rongfeng hung up the phone and shouted anxiously, Old Wu. Wu. Prepare the car. Prepare the car. Xiao Ya couldn't take this kind of provocation. Qin Fian looked like he wanted to kill her before, but now he was calling her sister and kneeling down. Besides, the doctor had said that Xia Qian's injury would be fine as long as her temperature was lowered. She was still being sedated, so she couldn't feel the burning pain. Her fever should be gone by noon tomorrow. It wasn't a terminal illness, so he didn't have to take such responsibility. But Qin Fian looked very serious. Zhuang Yichen put his hands on his waist, bent down, and moved his face in front of Qin Fian. He frowned as if he was studying a cultural relic. Hey, Fian, your rhythm isn't right. Qin Fian glared at Zhuang Yichen and snorted. My rhythm is always right. Then he continued to raise the flowers in front of Xiao Ya. Even if you want to pretend, don't harm my sister-in-law, Zhuang Yichen added. When Xiao Ya heard this, she suddenly remembered that Qin Fian was gay. Damn, wasn't she pushing her own sister into a fire pit? Qin Fian, get up. The doctor said that she didn't burn anything. My sister doesn't want you to take responsibility. Why don't you want me to take responsibility? Qin Fian was confused. That's not right. I really want to take responsibility. Why don't you let me? Zhuang Yichen swallowed again and reached out to touch Qin Fian's forehead. You don't have a fever, do you? Did your boyfriend fight with you? Qin Fian slapped Zhuang Yichen's hand away in annoyance and stood up with a whoosh. He shoved the flowers in his hand into Xiao Ya's hand and said righteously, Anyway, I don't care anymore. Since you don't want me to take responsibility, then let her take responsibility for me. After this incident, my heart has been seriously damaged. Do you know what she did to me? Not only did she strip me naked, she even broke my orange flowers. Pft. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 741. Qin Fian glanced at Zhuang Yichen and Xiao Ya. At this time, he sat on Xia Qian's bed. After sitting on it, he propped himself up with his arms and stood on his tiptoes. He looked calm and composed as if he was the host. Since you think that Xia Qian's injuries aren't serious and that she'll recover soon, I'll tell you how serious my injuries are. Qin Fian grunted. Don't think that I look like a good person who's fine right now. My heart has been hit hard. Do you know how fatal the blow to a man's self-esteem is when he's kidnapped by a woman, a short woman? Qin Fian talked about his own pain, but there was no sadness on his face. Instead, he shook his neck and leisurely talked about the insults that he couldn't bear to be mentioned. Xiao Ya's mouth was agape. She had seen a lot of shameless men. Really, she had seen a lot of beasts in the upper class. Sometimes, she could hear those rich playboys say shameless things outside the changing room. But Qin Fian was like this. She really felt ashamed for him. How was he shameless? He had no face at all. Qin Fian, you can't blame Xia Qian for this. You've had many enemies. Ever since she found out that Xia Qian had provoked Qin Fian first and that her body was fine, she didn't hold a grudge against Qin Fian. Now that she heard that a gay man wanted to marry her sister, she could only persuade him patiently. She was afraid that this man would give up and hurt her sister. Yes. Qin Fian raised his hand and pointed at Xiao Ya. He snapped his fingers beautifully. Xiao Ya, Jie is right. He tilted his head and looked at Zhuang Yichen, who was studying him. He rested his chin on his hand. Hey Chen, did you hear what Xiao Ya said? Well, Qin Fian, I think there's something you need to change. One is Sister Xiao Ya, and the other is Yichen. Shouldn't you unify your seniority? Qin Fian shook his head. Why should I correct it? I call you Big Sister just like my wife. You haven't gotten your marriage certificate with Big Sister Xiao Ya yet. We can't mess this up. If brother-in-law changes in the future, I'll be calling you Big Sister for nothing. After saying that, he looked at Xiao Ya and said, Right, sis? Xiao Ya rolled her eyes. He was already calling her his wife. Damn, Qin Fian's marriage speed is like a rocket? Qin Fian changed his words very quickly. Zhuang Yichen gritted his teeth and raised his foot to kick Qin Fian's leg. Qin Fian jumped up from the bed to dodge. Zhuang Yichen glared at him. Qin Fian, I never knew that you were so annoying. Sis, look, he's afraid that I'll tell the truth. Xiao Ya waved her hand. Stop calling me sis. You're making me sound old. I still have to call you sis. Qin Fian placed his hands on his waist and began to do the 8th set of radio calisthenics. His but moved in big circles as he said lazily, You said it yourself. We've had many feuds, and she's always the one looking for trouble, right? The first time, she ate stinky tofu and even bit me. Sis, you saw it, right? She kissed me in front of so many people. Everyone knows that. That was my first kiss. How could she take it away just like that? Xiao Ya face-bombed. Zhuang Yichen simply sat down and flipped through the magazine. Don't talk about integrity with a young master who says that he's gay every day. He doesn't have it at all. If he did, he definitely wouldn't let anyone know that he's gay. The second time at the swimming pool, she took off my pants. You all know about it, right? Other than when I was young and couldn't take care of myself, my pants have never been taken off by anyone in my life. Tell me, who's the one responsible? This time, she kidnapped me again. Not only did she hurt my pride, but she also left a serious psychological shadow in me. This shadow might stay with me for the rest of my life. Go and take a look at that room. She bought a bunch of things on the table. She bought some tools to torture me. If you saw it, wouldn't you criticize her cruelty and sympathize with me? She should be despised by the whole world. You said that a man like me was tied up by her and was completely naked. She even touched me all over my body. Qin Fian then remembered that Xia Qian had also touched him there. His face turned red and he coughed. He quickly said, Anyway, she committed a heinous crime. If she doesn't want to take responsibility for me, I won't let it go. Xiao Ya nudged Zhuang Yichen. Yichen, say something. You'll pay for it. Okay, let young Master Qin name a price. Zhuang Yichen didn't even raise his head. Qin Fian stopped exercising and frowned. Can money make up for the damage that Xia Qian has done to me? Do you think that my mental health isn't important? Xiao Ya saw that Zhuang Yichen didn't care and was a little anxious. You still want to take revenge on Qian Qian? Qin Fian, let me tell you, there's no way you're planning to do that. He was gay. If he married Xia Qian, wouldn't she be a widow for the rest of her life? How can I take revenge on her? What are you thinking? Qin Fian felt that he couldn't communicate with Xiao Ya. They had talked about responsibility, but now they were talking about revenge. Jiang Zhao re-entered the room. Qin Fian immediately went over and put his arm around Jiang Zhao's shoulder. Brother, if you help me marry Xia Qian, I'll let Xia Qian give birth to a grandson of the Qin family. You don't have to bring your baby over. What do you think? What are you doing? Jiang Zhao laughed. Since when did you like Xia Qian? Qin Fian leaned his arm on Jiang Zhao and said, Xia Qian and I are engaged. Do you remember when I was kidnapped? This watch of mine was stolen by Bing Dan and given to me. After saying this, he looked at Xiaoya unhappily. Now Xiaoya doesn't want to marry Xia Qian to me. She wants to break off the engagement. I don't think that's right. Engagement? Engagement? Everyone's jaws almost dropped. Qin Fian nodded. Yeah, but she doesn't remember it now. Even if I tell her, she won't believe me. So she might as well marry me. It's fine as long as I remember it. Zhuang Yichen sneered, melodramatic. Xiaoya agreed. Melodramatic? Jiang Zhao nodded. A big pot of melodramatic. Qin Fian told Xiaoya a lot about what happened back then, but Xiaoya didn't believe him. But Jiang Zhao believed him. Zhuang Yichen also slowly raised his head and believed him more and more. Qin Fian's reputation as a homosexual had long been known. He always did things his own way. If he wanted to mess with Xia Qian, there were a million ways. Why did he have to do this? Qin Fian was a businessman. He wouldn't sacrifice his whole life for a moment of anger. At this moment, the door of the ward was pushed open. Qin Rongfang rushed in with the butler, Uncle Wu. When Qin Fian saw his grandfather, he immediately went over to support him. Grandfather, what brings you here? Qin Rongfang couldn't be bothered with him. He only looked at the girl on the bed. She was all red. Is this the person you wanted to propose to? Grandfather, you have to make a decision for me. Her family doesn't want to take responsibility. Qin Rongfang's mouth twitched. Nonsense. She's the one lying here. You're fine. Then take a look at my forehead. Qin Fian reached out to brush away the bangs on his forehead. Sure enough, there was a large bruise. The blood clot on it had already formed a scab. It was covered during the day, so it couldn't be seen. Grandfather, I have a marriage contract with her. When I was in exile, she said that she wanted me to marry her. She can't deny this, right? Xiaoya saw Qin Rongfang and her attitude was much better. Grandfather Qin, this is ridiculous. You can't believe it. Qin Fian whispered in Qin Rongfang's ear, it's up to you whether you want a great-grandchild or not. Anyway, I don't want anyone except Xia Qian. Qin Rongfang was stunned, and then he was ecstatic. The next day, when Xia Qian woke up, the first thing she saw was Qin Fian. Qin Fian pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose. He grinned at Xia Qian. When Xia Qian saw Qin Fian, she shrank back in fear. Why you here? Xiaoya reached out and slapped Qin Feifang's face and pushed him back. Qian Qian. Qin Fian pulled Xiaoya's hand away and grinned at Xia Qian. When Qin Fian called her Qian Qian, Xia Qian immediately burst into tears. She hugged Xiaoya and didn't dare to let go. She sobbed and said, Sis, I was wrong. I won't mess with him anymore. Ask brother-in-law to tell him not to seek revenge on me. Qin Fian was stunned. Xia Qian, who was in Xiaoya's arms, was crying sadly and panically. His smile froze on his face and slowly collapsed. He couldn't smile anymore. Qin Fian took out a candy from his pocket, walked over, and handed it to Xia Qian. Bingden, don't cry. Have a candy and you'll be happy. It's my fault. Look, it's orange petal, orange flavored. Xia Qian looked at Qin Fian blankly. Who's called Bingdan? Only a country bumpkin would have such an old-fashioned name. She looked at the candy handed over and despised it. Oh my God, how old-fashioned are you? This packaging is really lousy. One look and I can tell it's cheap. Qin Fian's heart ached. The thing that he treasured so much was now being despised by others. Had it become a habit for him to be obsessed with it? After the chili incident, Xia Qian really didn't dare to cause trouble for Qin Fian anymore. She was afraid. She had never been retaliated against like that before. She probably wouldn't forget it for the rest of her life. Qin Fian could only treat this as a last resort. The girl ignored him, and he had no experience in wooing girls. No matter how busy he was, he would definitely go to Ninth Mansion to please his sister-in-law. He wanted to know a little about the girl's mentality. It was fine if he didn't go. After he went, the conflict escalated. Sister-in-law, tell me, what do girls like? What do they like in the morning, at noon, and at night? What should I do so that the girl won't hate you? Year came back from the dance studio every day and still had to listen to Qin Fian's nagging. She was already annoyed. But Qin Fian just had to say these things. Why didn't Jiang Zhao ask her what she liked in the morning? What did she like in the afternoon? What did she like in the evening? Why didn't he ask her what he should do so that she wouldn't hate him? She was unhappy in her heart, but she still told Fian her thoughts. Fian, it's like this. Girls actually like men who are more considerate, the kind who can consider everything for her. When she's cooking, you pass her a scallion. When she's washing the dishes, you pass her a pair of gloves. She'll be happy. Although you don't necessarily do anything, it's enough to show that you're considerate of her. Awesome novel. Hongcha 866. Chapter 742. Oh, be romantic. Give her some flowers when you're free. Girls rarely dislike flowers, really. Even if it's just one flower, if she likes you, she'll like you. Qin Fian sighed. What if she hates me? Yi Er also knew about Qin Fian's situation and sympathized with him. Why don't you like someone else? Qian doesn't even remember you. Why should I like someone else? I remember her. Qin Fian ate 2 grapes and waved his hand. Forget it. I'll just attract her attention anyway. As soon as Qin Fian left, Yi Er came looking for trouble with Jiang Zhao. Why don't you give me flowers? Give me one every day. Aren't there flowers in the vase every day? Isn't it troublesome to buy more? 3 or 4 pillows flew at him. Qin Fian's pursuit of girls was still at the most primitive stage. If he couldn't get her, he would scratch the wall anxiously. Xia Qian hated him and was afraid of him. She just ignored him. Sending her flowers, treating her to a meal, and giving her gifts were all useless. At night, Qin Fian went to look for Qin Rongfang again and threw a tantrum. When are you going to marry my wife? Qin Rongfang was no longer in a hurry. When he first found out that his grandson liked women, he was so angry that he almost turned into fireworks and shot into the sky. But now that he saw his grandson anxious like an ant on a hot pan every day, Qin Rongfang felt better. He felt like he was taking revenge. You can be anxious all you want, but I'm not anxious. Qin Rongfang drew his mountains and rivers, forests and birds, dipping his brush in ink and sprinkling colors. It was his style of handling things calmly. Grandpa, you don't want to have a great-grandson, do you? Qin Rongfang replied, I don't want to. With Zhao Zhao and Yi Er's child, I don't have to worry. Zhao Zhao's child will definitely be smart and cute. Look at how he and Yi Er are so good-looking. The child will definitely be very beautiful. Qin Fian was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He stomped his feet. You don't care? Since you can't do anything about it, then let's just leave it at that. When the people at the station get together with her, I'll give up. I can't be without her. Qin Rongfang smiled faintly. You don't really like men anyway. There's no need to insist on anyone. We can change. Qin Fian had long seen through Qin Rongfang's thoughts. This old fox, after knowing that he was not gay, he ostracized him, took revenge on him, and targeted him for everything. This old fox just wanted to see him anxious. Fine, he would show him anxious. She's my fiancée that I got engaged to when I was 15 years old. Why should I change her? Fian, don't be impatient. Everything has to be calm. Without Xia Qian, won't the earth stop spinning? I. Wouldn't my great-grandson be settled then? Qin Rongfang used an extremely serious and educational tone to say something out of place. Qin Fian took a step back and distanced himself from the desk. He pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose and glanced at the old man who was painting. He clicked his tongue several times. How sinister! Who could be more sinister than this old fox? He actually wanted to drug him? Luckily he had a nest outside. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know if a woman was stuffed into his bed in the middle of the night. Grandfather, you shouldn't have done things that would make a junior feel ashamed. The old man's eyebrows and hair were as white as snow. He raised his eyebrows as he put down his brush. People say that the old are still young. The old are still young. Actually, in this family, I am the youngest. I should be forgiven for everything I do. Look at what you did a few years ago. How shameless. The old man sighed, very melancholy. Qin Fian felt that the corner of his mouth was twitching nonstop. Grandpa, this is revenge. I feel that this will damage your prestige. What prestige do I need? My prestige has already been ruined by my grandson. What prestige can I still have? Are you going to help me marry Xia Qian or not? No. Go marry your own wife. What does it have to do with me? If she is kidnapped, it is because you are too bad. What does it have to do with me? Qin Fian vomited blood again. He didn't even say good night. He turned and walked out the door. He couldn't stay in this house anymore. There was no warmth at all. His parents didn't care about him and his sister since he was young. Now his grandfather didn't care either. He didn't even care about his marriage. He couldn't stay in this house anymore. Qin Fian held a little temper in his heart the whole way. He walked down the corridor to Fei Yu's room. Looking around, there was no one in the empty bedroom. The bathroom was also empty. After looking around, shouldn't Fei Yu be doing her homework at this time? He didn't know where his intuition came from, but Qin Fian walked towards the small awning on the top floor. Feng Xing, it's not right. You can't write it like this. Luo, look, you have to hold the brush with strength. When you hold the brush, your palm must be empty. It feels like you can put an egg in it. Don't use the strength of your arm to pull the brush. You have to use the strength of your wrist and knuckles. Fei Yu adjusted the position of the brush in Feng Xing's hand. She spoke softly to Feng Xing. The light in the small canopy was white and bright, clearly illuminating the figures of the young man and woman. The boy's features were delicate and pretty, while the girl was quiet and elegant. On a round stone table, there was ink and paper. The brush was in the boy's hand. Fei Yu's hand was on the boy's, teaching him patiently. After Feng Xing finished writing a word, he glanced at Fei Yu. His writing was getting smoother and smoother. Fei Yu clapped her hands in praise. Feng Xing, you are amazing. You write so well. You haven't been learning for long. I've been practicing calligraphy for so many years. Feng Xing looked at Fei Yu and saw that she had stopped. After a while, the atmosphere became awkward. Feng Xing's face heated up. He shyly lowered his head and continued to write. Feng Xing, you know how to write. Write down your home's address, okay? I will definitely help you find your home. A heavy blob of ink was printed on the snow-white paper. Feng Xing's brush instantly lost control of itself and the tip of the brush split open. Fei Yu was startled. She looked at the youth's hand holding the brush. Under the light, the knuckles were pale and blue. Feng Xing lifted the brush and dipped it in ink. On the snow-white paper, the charcoal black handwriting appeared. Under the light, it was wet. You want to chase me away? No. Facing the boy's silent but powerful questioning, Fei Yu hurriedly waved her hand. Today, her hair was tied back with a white string. Her beautiful face was exposed and it was hard to hide her panic. Feng Xing, I'm just afraid that you will miss home. You will miss your father, your mother, and maybe your grandfather. Feng Xing, I didn't chase you away. But in our house, I can't make the decision. You are a servant in our house every day and can't go to school with me. It's so hard. If you go back, your life will be easier. You should go to school. Fei Yu lowered her head. Her shoulders were slightly trembling. When she raised her face again, she looked at the boy with clear tears in her eyes. Today, I told grandfather to let you go to school, but grandfather didn't agree. Feng Xing, you should go to school. Go to university, take the postgraduate entrance exam, and more. You are so smart. The soft tip of the brush could write with the strength of a knife. You despise me for not going to university. No! Fei Yu stomped her foot. This stomp shook off the water droplets on her eyelashes. Feng Sheng, how can you look at me like that? I don't have a home. Where do you want me to go? Fei Yu bit her lip. I won't talk about this in the future. Qin Fian clapped his hands. Fei Yu was startled, but Feng Sheng was much calmer. Qin Fian walked over and glanced at the handwriting on the stone table. He clapped even louder. He smiled and said, Feng Sheng, my sister's teacher is not bad, right? Your handwriting has improved a lot. Feng Sheng looked at Qin Fian, then at Fei Yu. He smiled and nodded. Fei Yu wanted to hide the handwriting on the table, but it was too late. Qin Fian had already finished reading. Looking at his sister's tear-stained face, the beautiful boy next to her was much calmer. He suddenly thought of someone. Xiongwu? He didn't seem like it. Although Feng Sheng was as beautiful as Unwu gave people the impression of being harmless and pure. He was very polite. Those older than him would politely call him brother. When he smiled, it was as if spring had come. Feng Sheng's personality was much colder. He didn't speak and rarely smiled. Although he was young, his handwriting and questions revealed a sense of dominance. Why did she refuse to leave the Qin family? Qin Fian took out a handkerchief from his pocket and rubbed Fei Yu's eyes, wiping away her tears. He gently and lovingly reprimanded her. Fei Yu, don't you know you should sleep early? Grandpa even said to set the rules for you in the next few years, so that when you marry into the Pei family, you won't mess around and be hard to control. How can being someone else's daughter-in-law be as comfortable as being Miss? Fei Yu glanced at Feng Sheng, then turned to glare at Qin Fian. Brother! She was so anxious that her face turned red. Qin Fian looked over from the corner of his eye. He saw the hand holding the brush trembling slightly. Crack! The priceless ink jade brush broke in the boy's hand. Qin Fian smiled faintly. He picked up the paper on the table and looked at the handwriting on it seriously. His silly sister, did she think that she was a good teacher? She didn't know how deep her foundation was. Qin Fian thought about the things in his grandfather's study. Nowadays, very few young people learned calligraphy, but many of them learned piano. But it was inevitable that some parents would choose interest classes for their children. That was one possibility. Another possibility was that it was someone like Grandpa. He forced the children in the family to learn. They had to learn. He was still holding Feng Sheng's handwriting in his hand. Feng Sheng's control of his strokes was really good. From a weak start to a strong finish, each row of words changed little by little, progressing step by step without the slightest bit of impatience. This Feng Sheng in front of him had been in the Qin family for many days. At such a young age, he never complained. Other than not speaking, there was almost no flaw to be found. Xinwu 799. Chapter 743. But the doctor said that there was nothing wrong with his vocal cords. The reason he couldn't speak was probably due to psychological trauma. Qin Fian's eyes landed steadily on Feng Sheng. He sized him up and finally looked into his eyes. When Qin Fian's gaze landed on Feng Sheng, he didn't avoid Qin Fian's scrutinizing gaze. After a moment, he lowered his head, pretending to be afraid. But he didn't relax his grip on the ink jade pen. The weather was a little cold now, but these two people actually had the leisure to come to the top floor of Fei Yu's residence to write. Really, Qin Fian blew at the ink on the paper in his hand and said lightly, Feng Sheng, you're still young. You should go to school. I found a school for you. Feng Sheng raised his head and looked at Qin Fian blankly. It's in Jiang District, an elite school. Don't worry, the Jiang family and our family are in-laws. When you go to school in Jiang District, you will be well taken care of. Fei Yu was stunned. Jiang District. She looked at Feng Sheng again. Feng Sheng's lips were trembling a little. The hand that was holding the ink jade brush was also trembling a little. Fian pulled Qin Fian's wrist. Brother, why do we have to go to Jiangzhou to study? Isn't there a good school in High City? Fei Yu, this is my decision. You know that you can't make decisions in this family, so since some things have already been decided, then let it be. You don't have to object. Your task now is to study, then go to university and marry into the Pei family in a few years. You don't have to worry about anything else. Qin Fian looked at the young men and women standing in front of him with ugly expressions, then turned his gaze back to Fei Yu. He crumpled the paper in his hand into a ball and threw it into the wastebasket beside the stone table. He patted Fei Yu's head. Xiao Yu, when you have time, read more books related to exams. Although grades are not important to us, you know that Grandpa is very vain in this aspect. He is also old, so you should work harder to make him happy. You are outstanding in everything. When you marry into the Pei family in the future, Grandpa will laugh especially heartily when he praises you. You also know that the Pei family is well matched with us, and Grandpa does not want to lose out in this aspect. Fei Yu said in a low voice, "Why do we have to be well matched? Isn't the sister-in-law you keep saying that you want to marry someone with no family background and no background?" The conversation naturally ended on a sour note. The matter ended with Fei Yu dragging Feng Sheng to bandage the wound on her hand. Qin Fian took off his spectacles and reached out to pinch the bridge of his nose. This little girl. It seemed that it would be a little difficult to send Feng Sheng out of the family. Fei Yu wasn't someone who was so insistent on everything, but for some things, once there were signs, shouldn't they be put out? If things continued like this, what if something happened? Qin Fian looked at his watch. The surface of the crack was still very clear, but what could he do? That was his sister's doing. He could only endure it. Fortunately, he could still force himself to look at the time. At this time, she should be riding her bicycle. His cheeks puffed out and he let out a breath. He straightened the collar of his jacket. Now, he liked to change into casual clothes immediately after work. Because Xia Qian had scolded him, saying that when he wore a shirt and suit, he was a beast in human clothing. That wouldn't do. She was always so dissatisfied with him, always scolding him. Her impression of him would only worsen. Yesterday he had failed. Today, he continued to stride forward with high morale and began a new round of chasing girls. Right now, he didn't have the energy to care about his sister's matters. His sister would still need a few years to marry into the Pei family. After all, she was still young. But it was different for him. His marriage was imminent. In a few years, Xia Qian's child would definitely be able to play around. Of course, if her child was able to play around in a few years, then the child would definitely have the surname Qin. Qin Fian went downstairs happily. He walked through the corridor and went to get his car. He really couldn't think of any other methods that he hadn't used on Xia Qian. When this woman saw him, it was as if she had seen the plague. She ran away immediately. He couldn't let her run away today. The advertisement in the car slowly stopped. Then it was the talk show. Welcome back. Let's continue the topic we talked about today. What's wrong with women these days? The atmosphere of the show was quite cheerful. The host used a more humorous way to narrate. The man said, "Let's continue the topic we talked about just now. Just now, we were talking about the weird things in women's brains. I don't know what women these days think. If you're handsome, she says you don't feel safe. If you're ugly, she says you'll lose face if she brings you out." The female host retorted, "Aren't you men the same? If you find a beautiful wife, you're always worried about whether she's having an affair. If you find an ugly one, you leave her at home and don't even dare to bring her friends home for dinner. Isn't that the case? Hey, aren't we talking about women today? Men and women depend on each other." Yes. Let me tell you a story. I heard from a friend that he had a girlfriend. In less than a month, they broke up. In the beginning, the two of them got along quite well. They also had chemistry. Then why did they break up? He said that on the last day of their breakup, after they had a candlelit dinner, he held the girl's face and looked at her with deep affection. How good, how romantic, how right the rhythm was. For a long time, the girl's eyes blinked and blinked. He was dazed. In the end he asked, "Can I kiss you?" The girl shyly said, "Annoying, why do you only think about these things?" Then he let go of the girl and sent her home. That was the last time they spent together. The female host laughed. "If it were you, what would you do?" "What would I do? What's there to ask? Kiss her. If you kiss her, you'll become one of us. If you don't, you'll get a slap on the face at most, right? It's like trading in the stock market. There are risks, but there are also rewards. God, do you have to be so violent? This isn't violence. This is fighting. When you can't be sure whether it's abuse or abuse, just accept it with a masochistic attitude. Who knows, there might be a surprise. So, Qin Fian concluded that what happened that night was caused by listening to the unhealthy radio program. Qin Fian followed the road that Xia Qian rode on every day. He drove slowly, looking for her shadow. Xia Qian was drenched in sweat as she rode forward on her bicycle. The lights of the city spread out and she ran back. Life is about movement. So, if you want to live long, you have to exercise. Qin Fian's car followed Xia Qian. He was thinking about how to put the words he said on the radio into action. He felt that he was a smart person. It was easy for him to draw inferences about other things. Everything could slowly become clear through his brain. Following the guidance and instructions of the radio host, Qin Fian analyzed Xia Qian. Xia Qian thought that he was handsome and insecure. When he lived in Starfield Town, she always watched him and didn't allow him to talk to other girls. Every day, there would be many girls at home bringing fruits and boiled eggs to her house for him to eat. She would keep all of them. Who knew if he would eat those things? She was obviously jealous, but she never admitted it. She even said that there were boys who wanted to marry into her family who were better than him. Qin Fian felt that the first step now was to put the question, "Can I kiss you?" into practice. According to the program, he shouldn't ask a girl if he could kiss her. He should just kiss her. This logic made sense. Treat you to a meal? Will you do me the honor? Honor. I just want to have a meal with you. Come with me. Treat you to a movie? Is that okay? Is that okay? I just want to watch a movie with you. I have to go. There were also things like holding hands and kissing. I just want to hold hands and kiss without any warning. What's there to talk about? What's there to talk about? He would press her down and kiss her. After kissing her, they would become family. At most, he would get a slap on the face. Right now, he couldn't wait for her to slap him. Only then would he be able to get back at her. After making up his mind, Qin Fian did one thing, and that was to kidnap Xia Qian. Yi Er slept on the bed, tossing and turning uncomfortably. After 3 months, her belly had become much bigger. Other single babies only showed signs of pregnancy at 3 months, but she was already 5 months pregnant. After turning over, Jiang Zhao immediately woke up. Jiang Zhao turned on the table lamp and touched Yi Er's face. Yun Yi. Zhao, you're having an affair. Huh? I dreamed that you were having an affair. As Yi Er spoke, she started to feel sad. Pregnant women were especially sensitive. When he didn't pick up her call, she started to wonder if he had taken a fancy to another woman because she was pregnant. Jiang Zhao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. His biological clock was following Yi Er's and he went to bed very early. He hadn't even woken up from his sleep, yet she was accusing him of having an affair. This was simply adding insult to injury. Seeing that Yi Er's eyes were red, he kissed her on the forehead. Yun Yi, my good wife, I love you. I'm not having an affair. I'm really not. But then don't forget to tell me tomorrow. But I'll tell you every day. Don't think too much. It's not good for the baby. His hand slowly caressed Yi Er's belly. Her belly was bigger than other pregnant women. The doctor said that pregnant women with twins had it harder than other pregnant women. He planted a kiss on the woman's lips. Yun Yi, it's been hard on you. As long as you love me, it's not hard on me. I love you. Even if I love you, it can't erase the fact that you've worked hard. Yi Er's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Aha, it's been hard on me. Then you should kiss me more. Jiang Zhao squeezed Yi Er's hand and kissed it. Seeing her pout, he smiled. Just as his smile faded, the woman immediately turned hostile. You still say that you're not having an affair? I asked you to kiss me, but you won't even kiss me. Jiang Zhao smiled and kissed the woman gently on the lips. After the woman was satisfied, she reached out to turn off the lights. She said happily, Aha, I believe you. Add, Hongcha 866. Chapter 744. Turning over, She pulled Jiang Zhao's hand and hugged herself. After a while, the sound of a woman's even and satisfied breathing could be heard. After Jiang Zhao kissed Yi Er, he really couldn't fall asleep, especially now that he was leaning against her back and hugging her. His hand slid into her pajamas. After she got pregnant, her chest seemed to have grown bigger, as if it had swelled up. His large hand cupped her breasts, which were very pink and full. He couldn't help but rub his nose against her neck. The thing in his hand had a kind of magic. He hadn't touched her in a long time, and he could clearly feel that part of him was already uncontrollably pushing against her butt. Yi Er twisted and moved forward. She moved, but Jiang Zhao wanted to find a place to press against her. He chased after her and slid his hand into her underwear, fiddling with it. Yu was sleeping soundly, but she was having a dream before she was pregnant. In her dream, she saw Jiang Zhao's fingers entering her body. 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers. She was so full that she was about to cry out. She would always feel weak because of him, and her lower body would be uncontrollably wet. Be good, wifey. 3 months have passed. Let's try it today, okay? Jiang Zhao said as he pulled down Yi Er's pants. He slowly pushed and squeezed. Yunyi, pregnancy is really a blissful and torturous thing. Jiang Zhao said in a low and hoarse voice. His breaths were heavy and trembling. He held her breasts, not daring to go too deep or too fast. He tossed and turned until he was completely drenched. Zhao, I want. Xia Qian's car was thrown into the trunk by Qin Fian. He threw her into the car and threatened, Xia Qian, don't move. Otherwise, be careful. Xia Qian really didn't dare. She obediently sat in the back seat and watched Qin Fian's changes without blinking. When the traffic light turned green, she wanted to open the car door and jump out, but the central control had already locked the door. I knew you wouldn't be honest, so I locked the car door. What do you want? I don't want to do anything. Let's go eat and watch a movie. Right? I want to have a candlelight dinner with you. It's very romantic. You'll definitely like it. Xia Qian's heart twitched. Who would tell her to face a homosexual? How was she supposed to deal with such a strange change? Especially when he sat in the back, he could see him occasionally turn his head and smile. This smile was beautiful, but it was too scary because he had never smiled at him like this before. Xia Qian was increasingly suspicious of Qin Fian's purpose. Confession of Xia Qian. God, everyone says that I'm an idiot. Please give me some pointers. How can I destroy a man like Qin Fian? Why did he ask me to go instead of having dinner and watching a movie with his boyfriend? Did he get some voodoo from Yaojiang and put it in my food? I haven't cured my terminal illness yet. What should I do if he gets another voodoo? What kind of voodoo does he want to put in me? Will he control me and make me commit murder and arson? I don't eat. How can that be? You have to eat. Qin Fian deeply understood the words on the radio. No matter what you do, you don't have to ask for a woman's opinion. If you do it by force, you'll just be slapped in the face or two. A romantic candlelight dinner. No, to be exact, it was a candlelight supper. Qin Fian booked the entire 2nd floor of the Western restaurant. He took Xia Qian's hand and went upstairs. Then he put his arm around her shoulder. The waiters all knew Qin Fian. He was a handsome man in high city. At this time, a homosexual came to the restaurant with a woman in his arms. It was big news. Without asking for Xia Qian's opinion, Qin Fian ordered the food. The waiters lit the candles according to Qin Fian's request. The candlelight on the candlestick flickered and the flames danced. Their skin started to turn orange-red. The flames in their eyes danced. Qin Fian stared at Xia Qian's eyes. Actually, it was different. Bing Danner's eyes were different from Xia Qian's. The light in her eyes was different. Bing Dan was smart, while Xia Qian was a little silly. Xiaoye said that after Xia Qian woke up, her reaction was always half a beat slower than others. Therefore, her grades were not very good. In fact, it was Zhuang Yichen who helped her get into the media college. Xia Qian did not get in at all. Because she was not smart enough and did not study well, the teachers did not pay much attention to her. She also had fewer friends. Therefore, when she had Yi Er as a friend, Xia Qian almost wanted to be friends with Yi Er. Xiao Ye said that no one wanted her to remember the past. She also hoped that he would not mention it. Qin Fian was very conflicted. In the end, he chose not to talk to Xia Qian about the past. If he reminded her of her parents' death, even if she remembered him, she would still be in pain. His eyes were a little sore. Qin Fian forced himself not to be so sad. He pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose. He pushed up his glasses and poured some red wine for Xia Qian. Xia Qian was afraid of Qin Fian for a while. After a while, she would be stupid again. How could she drink the food when she knew it was poisoned? She would not fall for his trick. Qin Fian, let me tell you, don't forget. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten that you were raped by me? I'm very fierce. I'm very powerful. When Qin Fian heard Xia Qian's words, he remembered his favorite saying in the past. We love very rich. Not many families in Starfield Town are as rich as us. He could not help but smile. He raised his glass and took a sip. Yes, I remember. I won't forget. You were the only one who raped me before. Then how dare you provoke me? I didn't provoke you. I want you to marry me. Xia Qian was speechless. Could this man not say anything else? Did he think that she would be interested in him just because he was good-looking, even if he was gay? Was she that kind of person? How could she be that kind of person? She was just good-looking and had a good figure. She could play with that place. But it was huge. Forget it. She did not want to think about it anymore. Her nose was burning. She felt that she was close to death again. She said contemptuously, "Were you dumped by your boyfriend?" Qin Fian cut the steak seriously. He cut it into small cubes. After cutting a whole piece, he stood up and placed the portion in front of Xia Qian in front of him. He sat down in front of Xia Qian and continued cutting. I don't have a boyfriend. Xia Qian shook her head in disbelief. Don't be like this. Although I'm also a media person, I'm not a reporter. I won't expose you. Qin Fian used to think that it was good to tell others that he was gay. The women in the company wouldn't crawl into his arms, and the daughters of rich families wouldn't hug his neck and kiss him hard at the cocktail party. He had promised Bing Dan that he would never kiss a woman other than his wife. This was fate. His lips had only kissed Xia Qian, so Xia Qian had to be his wife. But now it was troublesome. No one believed that he really wanted to pursue her. She didn't remember the past. It didn't matter if she didn't remember. He had to marry her. The two of them chatted as they ate. In the end, Qin Fian walked up to Xia Qian, pulled her up, and said on the radio with a loving look. Qin Fian thought that his gaze must be affectionate because his Bing Dan had grown up. He reached out and pinched Xia Qian's chin, pulling her in front of him. Xia Qian was shocked, especially by the way Qin Fian looked at her. Why was it so strange? Did he think that she was his boyfriend? Did he really get dumped by his boyfriend? Qin Fian saw that Xia Qian couldn't get into the situation at all and was a little annoyed. He pinched her chin and said domineeringly, Xia Qian, close your eyes. I'm going to kiss you. Qin Fian felt that this was the right rhythm. He didn't need to ask if she was willing. Just say that he wanted to kiss her. As they kissed, she would become one of them. When Xia Qian's lips were sealed by Qin Fian, she was dumbfounded. She pushed Qin Fian away and said disdainfully, Why are your kissing skills so bad? It was like being bitten by a dog. She must have never read a romance novel, right? Qin Fian didn't blush and his heart didn't skip a beat. If you're good at kissing, then kiss me. At this moment, Qin Fian's IQ had dropped. He actually gave such an order. It was really meaningless. Xia Qian naturally ignored him. It was okay if she ignored him. Qin Fian was thick-skinned now. If she didn't kiss him, he could still kiss her. Anyway, she didn't slap him. Maybe she would become one of them soon. Xia Qian trained every day. However, compared to Qin Fian who also trained every day, her strength was not just a little bit weaker. There wasn't even a waiter in the Western restaurant on the second floor. According to Qin Fian's request, all the lights were turned off. There was only a candlestick on their table. There were 3 candles on the candlestick. The candles burned with tears, and the rhythm of the flames was unclear. The rhythm was unclear, and the light was unclear. Xia Qian was pressed down on the sofa by Qin Fian. Qin Fian, how dare you press down on me? Kiss you, press down on you, marry you? After the announcement, they continued to kiss. Men should have an innate ability to explore women. For example, how to quickly change from inexperience to familiarity. Xia Qian thought that Qin Fian was biting her like a dog at the beginning. But at this time, the man already knew how to play with his tongue. Qin Fian himself was surprised to find that kissing could be changed. He actually put his tongue into her mouth, stirred it, and sucked it for a moment. This process, slowly and deeply, became more and more interesting. It was really amazing. Qin Fian was touched by his own intelligence. So, he explored the kissing for a long time. During this process, Xia Qian tried to bite him several times, but he escaped. Xia Qian was very disobedient. She was a person who had read countless novels. How could she be pressed down on by someone else? But this man didn't even give her a chance to speak. Qin Fian's intelligence had not only increased in kissing, but also in other aspects, such as touching. This was his nature. After a man hugged a woman and kissed her, he wanted to touch her everywhere. The first place he wanted to touch would be her waist or butt. The most he wanted to touch would be her chest. Welfare, Song Shu 566. Chapter 745. Xia Qian exclaimed, "You touched my chest." Qin Fian answered affirmatively, "Yes, of course." There were only the two of them on the second floor. Even if the people downstairs heard the screams, they wouldn't go upstairs. Who didn't know about the ambiguous relationship between the people at the candlelight dinner? It was very normal for ambiguous relationships to happen. Qin Fian had never found anything cute about Xia Qian. But ever since he found out that she was his fiancée, his attitude towards her changed completely. Although Xia Qian was a little silly, he felt that there was no need for women to be too smart. Although she would make mistakes sometimes, she was not evil. She would not wholeheartedly harm others or mess with him. That was because they had a grudge. If she did not get back at him even though they had a grudge, she would be too stupid. So this was the right thing to do. In the past, he had thought that Xia Qian was not pretty. Anyway, none of the women he had seen were pretty. They all looked the same and could not compare to Bing Dan. But now, looking at Xia Qian, he felt that she was not bad. Her double eyelids after plastic surgery looked better than Bing Dan's single eyelids. Bing Dan's eyes were big, so her double eyelids were just right. Her chest was really a problem. In the past, it looked quite small, but now it felt quite right in his hands. When he pinched it, it was very springy. As he pinched it, he realized that his breathing was not quite right. Qin Fian, you pervert, I'm going to sue you. Xia Qian was so anxious that her face was red and her heart was racing. Qin Fian was being a pervert. He did it on purpose. A homosexual actually touched her chest. Her chest. Not only did he see it, but he also touched it. Qin Fian held Xia Qian tightly. It was winter now, and the air conditioner was on upstairs. She took off her jacket. She was neither fat nor thin. After struggling, there were small beads of sweat on the tip of her nose. She really looked like Bing Dan. Bing Dan loved to sweat on the tip of her nose. After understanding the essence of kissing, he stuck out his tongue and licked her lips gently. His lips curved into a smile. What's the point of suing me? If you have the ability, let me marry you. That's the challenge. Why are you marrying me? Qin Fian held Xia Qian's hand. It was as if he was living in the dark, looking at the wooden planks. Sunlight and sound seeped through the cracks. He was talking to the girl outside the wooden planks. He pinched her hand, placed it on his left cheek and rubbed it. His voice suddenly became very slow. Qian, marry me. I don't want much. You can give me 3 cows as dowry and $1. It doesn't matter if it's fake, as long as it looks expensive. After I marry you, I promise I won't kiss other girls like in the movies. I promise I won't divorce my wife like Father Nyo on the slope. Xia Qian was in a daze. She stared at Qin Fian with widened eyes. His words were getting slower and slower, and he was getting choked up. But why was he telling her all this? Qin Fian, are you crazy? Who raises cows? Only someone like you would wear a fake watch, right? Who was Father Nyo on the slope? Do you have a fever? Did you become confused after being dumped by your boyfriend? Qin Fian thought about it. He might as well steal Xia Qian's household register and get married to her at the Civil Affairs Bureau. What was there to chase after? It was too troublesome to chase after her. They had been kissing for so long and she wasn't even one of them. Jiang Zhao had advised him before. Fian, you can't treat gratitude as feelings. Maybe when you were 15 years old, you were very grateful to Bing Dan for rescuing you from the cellar. You stayed at Bing Dan's house every day and received her family's kindness. Our family values relationships very much, so you wanted to know how to repay them. However, you can't use your marriage as an act of gratitude. You can live with her for a lifetime. If you don't like her, everyone will suffer in the future. Now that she doesn't remember you, you can find a woman you like and live with her. He had thought about it carefully. What did it feel like to like someone? Did he treat gratitude as feelings? He clearly remembered the moment when he sat on the long-distance bus and turned around. He saw Bing Dan, wiping her tears as she looked at the bus he was sitting in. Bing Dan, had never cried in front of him before, so when she saw him, she smiled at him and waved at him. He also cried at that time. After that, every year when he went to Starfield Town and looked at the empty courtyard, he could see Bing Dan, running around happily. He always wanted to cry, afraid that he would never see that person again. If he was grateful, he should only remember the time in the cellar and not always go to the places she brought him to play. At the age of 15, no matter which era a child would have their first awakening of love, right? But once his love awakened, he kept it open and never thanked her. He remembered answering Jiang Zhao at that time, "Brother, I don't think women are good-looking. None of them are as good-looking as Bing Dan, or as good-looking as Xia Qian. How can I like her? I think Xia Qian is good-looking now. In the past, she looked good with single eyelids. Now that she has double eyelids, she's not bad either." Jiang Zhao was speechless. "You're marrying her because you promised to marry her. Shouldn't I marry her if I promised to marry her? Isn't that going back on my word?" "But she doesn't want to marry you." "But I want to marry her. She has to marry me even if she doesn't want to." "Brother, you said that I don't like her. Then tell me, what does it feel like to like someone?" Jiang Zhao looked into the distance and said with a smile, "You often think about her and think that she has a lot of good points. In the end, as you think about it, her flaws become her strengths. Even if she's not perfect, she's very pleasing to the eye. You don't think of her burdens as burdens. You feel that it's your duty to help her solve those burdens and make her feel more relaxed. You feel very satisfied to be able to see her lying by your side every day. If you give birth to a pair of children, that's the happiest thing." Qin Fei rolled his eyes at Jiang Zhao. "Then I definitely like her. Needless to say, she's pleasing to the eye now. I used to think that she was stupid, but now I think that she's cute. I want her to give birth to children for me in the future. How can one pair be enough? Give birth to 10 children. Jiang Zhao snorted. "Do you think she's a pig?" "I'm exaggerating. Didn't you learn Chinese well in primary school? I'm using exaggerated words to express my love for her. What do you know?" Qin Fian came back to his senses. Xia Qian was still trying to break free from his control. He looked at her seriously. "Xia Qian, think about it. I really like you. I like you, so I want to marry you. But I don't like you." Feelings can be cultivated. The soil has already become saline alkali soil. How can you cultivate it? What kind of thing can he cultivate? Then let's improve the soil. "But, don't say, but, Qian Qian. Let me kiss you again." Qin Fian had never hugged and kissed a woman like this before. The feelings in his heart came out again. His dependence on Xia Qian grew with each passing second. This kind of feeling was like pouring oil on a small flame. With a bang, the flame was pulled up high. When his mouth was dry, he pulled Xia Qian's clothes. Xia Qian glared at Qin Fian fiercely. "Don't you dare touch me again. Don't you dare touch me again. As she spoke, she stuttered. In the end, she said, if you touch me again, I'll sleep with you. As soon as she said it, Xia Qian regretted it. Qin Fian was not the Qin Fian from before. Her words would not scare him at all. Qin Fian was speechless. Yes, sleep with her. If he slept with her, she would become one of his people. He suddenly realized that Xia Qian needed to be provoked. She hated him, so she wanted to go against him. In the past, he hated being touched by women, so she wanted to touch him. Qin Fian propped himself up and quickly left Xia Qian's body. He walked back to his seat and sat down. He straightened his thin pink and purple sweater, picked up the wine glass, and took a sip. He immediately said contemptuously, "You want to sleep with me? Just buy you? Can you afford to sleep with me?" What? Xia Qian was angry. Just by me? Sigh, I realize that I won't torture your body gently anymore. I'll use this method to scare you. Look at how scared you have been recently. Are you scared out of your wits? Although you used to scare me, compared to how I'm scaring you now, what you did to me in the past was child's play. Ha! Qin Fian laughed proudly. It was the kind of arrogance that came after a scheme had succeeded. How could Xia Qian take this kind of provocation? She had been played by this man from the beginning. He had used this kind of method to scare her. What did he mean? Had she lost? Well, this homosexual was indeed insidious. Qin Fian observed Xia Qian's eyes. They kept rolling and he didn't know what she was thinking. However, she didn't seem to be afraid of him now. He had a feeling that he wanted to go all out with her. That was good. She was not afraid of him. Xia Qian, I'm warning you. I can only play with you like this. But between us, I'm definitely the one playing with you. When I kissed you just now, you must have thought that I would sleep with you, right? How could that be? You're not even as good-looking as my boyfriend. God, forget it. I can't bear to hurt you. Qin Fian finished this mouthful of wine and unilaterally ended this candlelight supper. Xia Qian recalled that during this period, she had been avoiding Qin Fian's pursuit like a cat. She was scared to death, but this guy was having fun. He said that he would not torture her body gently anymore and used this kind of method to scare her. This despicable guy. When Qin Fian came down the stairs, he clearly heard Xia Qian's roar. Qin Fian, I won't let you off. The man leisurely walked away, humming a song, and took Xia Qian's bicycle with him. Xia Qian's belongings were robbed. She beat her chest and stomped her feet in the parking lot. She swore that she would destroy Qin Fian, that homosexual. Qin Fian returned to his residence and called Jiang Zhao. Jiang Zhao had just finished showering and came out of the bathroom. After getting into bed, he didn't dare to hug Yi anymore, fearing that he would want to do it again. His work phone vibrated on the table, making a woo-woo sound. He quickly got out of bed and went to the opposite room with the phone. The number on the phone was Qin Fian. What are you doing? Calling my work number in the middle of the night. Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 746. Your private number is turned off. What else can I call other than your work number? You know that my phone is turned off, yet you're still calling. Is there something that can't be said tomorrow? No. Just spit it out. Qin Fian hesitated for a moment and finally decided to ask his senior. Brother, let me ask you. How can a girl take the initiative to sleep with you? You want Xia Qian to sleep with you? Fian, is there something wrong with your brain? Aren't you being too hasty? Tell me about it. Qin Fian felt that asking Jiang Zhao about this was more reliable than asking Zhuang Yichen. After all, Jiang Zhao was his blood-related brother, so the element of embarrassment was much less. Jiang Zhao suddenly remembered that there was a time when he had a conflict with Yi Er. He drugged Yi Er, and Yi Er later. Of course, he couldn't tell Qin Fian the truth. He could only pretend to be deep in thought before discussing. Why don't you seduce her? You look good anyway. This won't work. Jiang Zhao said hypocritically. Then why don't you drug her and make her pounce on you? But this method might not be effective, and it's a little immoral, right? Brother, I think it's too immoral. The way she's treating me now is the most immoral. Qin Fian's goal was to make Xia Qian one of his own. How could it be immoral? After Jiang Zhao hung up the phone, he thought about how immoral he was to Xia Qian for coming up with such an idea. Xia Qian suddenly bumped into a telephone pole. After a nosebleed, she collapsed again. Leukemia. Sometimes, it wasn't her imagination that ran wild. Her body had always been weak. Her classmates who stayed in the dormitory every day and didn't exercise had better resistance than her. So when there was something wrong with her body, she would start to think about it. She thought about how Qin Fian actually looked down on her. What did he mean by, "Can you afford to sleep with me?" It wasn't Shang Dynasty. Who did Qin Fian think he was? Why couldn't she sleep with him? Looking up at the street lamp, he reached into his pocket and took out a small packet of tissue paper. He took out a piece and used it to wipe the blood from his nose before plugging his nostrils. Xia Qian immediately set a goal for herself, and that was to sleep with someone she couldn't afford to sleep with before she died. Winter was very warm in the minds of the busy young people. It was getting warmer and warmer day by day. Qin Rongfang listened to the servant's report about how his grandson was chasing after a lady every day, and he gloated. He could finally breathe a sigh of relief. This grandson of his had tortured him for so many years, and he had finally met his nemesis who could avenge him. How delightful! Looking at the wedding invitation from the Pei family on the table, Qin Fian thought that next year, he would be able to send his grandson red and gold wedding invitation everywhere. He was so happy that flowers were blooming everywhere. He called his family members separately and finally called Qin Fian. "Fian, arrange work properly. Our family is going to G City. The Pei family is holding a wedding this time, so we have to go there early." "Okay, I got it. Will you bring Fei Yu there?" "Of course she has to go. It's something that our adults have decided, so it's good for her to go take a look. Then I'll go pick her up from school and help her apply for leave." "Okay." Qin Fian hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, the problem he was thinking about was not how to arrange the time, but that they were going to G City, and Xia Qian was still not one of them. And what made Qin Fian even more worried was that Fei Yu was still fine after school in the afternoon, but when it was time to sleep at night, she began to hold her stomach and scream. She was in so much pain that her whole body was sweating, and her clothes were soaked through. Qin Rongfang was so anxious that he scolded everyone he saw. Fei Yu's face was covered in sweat as if she had been splashed with water. Her face was covered with hair. She curled up into a ball, holding her stomach, and her head had already touched her bent knees. "It hurts. Xiao Yu, tell your brother, what did you eat today?" The moment Qin Fian touched Fei Yu, she rolled to the other side of the bed. "It hurts, it hurts." Fei Yu screamed, crying as she screamed. The family doctor came over. Chinese medicine doctors wanted to take her pulse. Western medicine doctors wanted to test her blood, but none of them could get close to her. Fei Yu was in so much pain that she kept twitching. Qin Fian wanted to force Fei Yu down, but at this moment, a youth rushed out from the crowd and climbed onto Fei Yu's bed. The housekeeper was about to scold him. Feng Sheng had already grabbed Fei Yu's hand and hugged her head. He tilted his head and pressed Fei Yu's forehead against his face. Feng Sheng was still panting heavily, as if he had run very quickly. He looked very nervous. Fei Yu sobbed and reached out to grab Feng Sheng's arm. She used a lot of strength, but she did not roll away. She just closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling violently. She cried and said, "Feng Sheng, it hurts, it hurts." Feng Sheng did not say anything. He just held Fei Yu's back and slowly touched her face. He pressed his cheek against her forehead and rubbed it gently, comforting Fei Yu's emotions. Feng Sheng looked up at the doctor and glanced at them, asking them to come over. Qin Fian did not know why, but he actually felt relieved. He looked at Qin Rongfang and walked over. Then he held Qin Rongfang's arm and pulled him away. Late at night, in the study, Qin Fian looked at the medical report seriously. "Grandfather, I don't want you to force Xiao Yu's matter." Qin Rongfang had not recovered yet. He sat on the rocking chair and lay down. He refused to open his eyes, because once he opened them, they would be filled with heartache. She's still young. She doesn't know anything. Doesn't know anything? Grandfather, Fei Yu knows everything. She took poison to resist and doesn't want to go to G City with you. Qin Fian looked at his grandfather. His eyebrows and hair were all white. Grandfather had his own pride. Fei Yu's marriage had been forced. If he was not gay, grandfather probably would not have wanted to use Fei Yu for the marriage. But now that both the Pei and Qin families had agreed, what else could he do? Would the Qin family propose to break off the marriage? Even if the Pei family wanted to save face, they would not agree. But Fei Yu was so young. This time she said she was going to G City to see her future in-laws. She actually took poison and wanted to use the excuse that she was not feeling well to achieve her purpose of not going to G City. If they pushed too far, what would happen in the future? Qin Rongfang closed his eyes. After what happened tonight, his heart was in pain. His precious granddaughter actually took poison to resist him. If it was not because of Feng Sheng, how could they end up like this? Grandpa was like an executioner, and his granddaughter was like a poor girl. How could the Qin family end up like this? His pair of withered old hands were trembling on the armrest of the chair. Fei Yan, send Feng Sheng away. Send him to Jiangzhou to go to school. After a long time, he will be fine. Let Xiao Yu know that Feng Sheng has a good place to stay. She will not miss him. After a long time, she will forget how Feng Sheng grew up. I didn't know that leaving him at home would lead to such a result. Qin Fian had always felt that the Qin family could not be compared to other families. Now that he thought about it, they were all about the same. Between families, there was no one who did not want a strong alliance. It was all because of his selfishness and stubbornness all these years that Fei Yu was pushed into the marriage situation. Grandfather blamed him, but he never used a scolding tone to scold him. Qin Fian's heart was heavy. He came out of the study and went to Fei Yu's room. He stood at the door and looked at his sister lying there quietly with her eyes closed. One hand was on a drip and the other hand was tightly holding Feng Sheng's hand. Feng Sheng held a towel in his hand and carefully wiped Fei Yu's sweat. Qin Fian's heart ached. Fei Yu was only 17 years old. Would everything be fine after sending Feng Sheng away? This night for the Qin family was destined to not be peaceful. The doctor kept his mouth shut and did not dare to say anything. No one dared to say that Fei Yu had taken poison and tortured herself in front of Qin Rongfang. Just as Qin Fian thought, Qin Rongfang was hit hard. He had always felt that Fei Yu was obedient and sensible. Sometimes, he even felt that he loved this granddaughter more because Fei Yu always listened to him. Whatever he said, it was what it was. And Qin Fian had always been rebellious and difficult to control. He always did not let him get what he wanted. So sometimes, Fei Yu could almost satisfy all of Qin Rongfang's vanity as the head of the family. To outsiders, he always claimed that he was a citizen and would not interfere with his children's affairs. But his son and daughter-in-law had gone abroad. It was not that he did not miss them. It was not that he did not feel sad when his daughter and son-in-law divorced. His grandchildren were all outstanding, but after all, their surnames were not Qin. When Jiang Zhao was young, he had wanted to change his surname many times, but he was always stopped by the elders of the Jiang family. It was not that he did not feel regret. He had raised his grandchildren single-handedly. What was the use of his grandson's surname? He was gay and did not want to be controlled. Only Fei Yu had been sensible since she was young. She listened to him. He had even thought of finding a man for Fei Yu. That way, his granddaughter would live under his nose for the rest of her life. He would be satisfied in this life and would not have any other thoughts. But a man who was willing to marry into the family would always feel that something was missing. How could he be worthy of his granddaughter? Fei Yu was so good. He had to find someone from a family of equal status before he would be satisfied, relieved, and feel that they were compatible. He had found a good man for his beloved granddaughter, but now he was forcing his granddaughter to take poison to resist him. Qin Rongfang fell into the rocking chair, unable to get up. 2 streams of tears flowed out of his tightly shut eyes. Qin Rongfang raised his withered arm and placed it over his eyes. His chest rose and fell as he choked out, "Fei, you really hurt Grandpa's heart." Qin Fian went to the 9th mansion. Jiang Zhao let Yi Er sleep alone first and took Qin Fian to the study. He brewed coffee for Qin Fian. Jiang Zhao brewed a cup of tea for himself. The two of them sat around the tea table, facing each other. After Qin Fian finished telling him what had happened that night, the cup in Jiang Zhao's hand slipped and landed on the tea table, splashing water all over him. He asked solemnly, "Why did you only tell me about such a big thing now?" The situation at the time was too unexpected. I didn't have time to rush it. I was already too busy looking for doctors. How could I have time to inform anyone? Later, I had a deep talk with Grandpa. He said that it was so late and told me not to disturb you because sister-in-law was pregnant. Qin Fian felt that other than the bitterness of the coffee, there was no other taste. It was bitter in the past, but he always felt that it was fragrant. Jiang Zhao asked again, "How is Fei Yu's condition now?" Qin Fian's brows twitched. He frowned and complained, "Her stomach was pumped and she's out of danger. She just doesn't want to go to City G. If she doesn't want to go, then so be it. She caused such a big thing." Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 747. Jiang Zhao was also angry. "Don't you know Fei Yu's personality? Can she tell you?" Grandpa said to send Feng Sheng away. Actually, I had long realized that this situation was not right. At that time, I told Grandpa to send Feng Sheng away to Jiangzhou. If Fei Yu was worried, I would say that I found a good school for him, so that Fei Yu would not be worried. But it has already developed to this point. Do you think sending him away now will be of any use? Grandpa said that as time passes, it will fade away. I think this is a bomb. Jiang Zhao sucked in a breath of cold air. He had never thought that Fei Yu would take poison. He was also very worried. You also know that it is a bomb. You were engaged to her when you were 15. Haven't you forgotten about it now? Fei Yu will be difficult to deal with. Then what do we do now? I don't even have the mood to chase my wife anymore. Fei Yu has never been such a bastard in her life. Qin Fian gritted his teeth and held the coffee cup. He could not smell the coffee at all. He felt that his nose was filled with the smell of medicine. When the doctor said that Fei Yu had taken poison, he was stunned. Seeing those tubes inserted into her mouth and seeing her tied up for gastric lavage, he wanted to rush up and slap her. Why couldn't they talk things out? Why did it have to be like this? She did not think that if something happened to her, what would happen to Grandpa? What would happen to him? He only had this one sister. Grandpa was already so old. Qin Fian could only scold Qin Fei Yu again and again. "You bastard." It's not that she's a bastard. It's that she finally has flesh and blood, Fei Yu. "Brother, what do you think we should do?" Grandpa asked our family to go to G City. But with Fei Yu like this, we definitely can't go. If Fei Yu doesn't go, I don't want to go either. I have to stay at home and watch over her. How do we explain to the Pei family? Jiang Zhao thought for a moment. Why don't we bring Fei Yu to my place and separate her from Feng Sheng? Your sister-in-law's belly is so big now. I don't want her to go to G City. If she doesn't go, I won't go. We can take care of Fei Yu. In this way you and Grandpa will be relieved, right? If Fei Yu could come and live here, with her brother and sister-in-law taking care of her, Qin Fian would naturally be relieved. Are you and sister-in-law really not going? Jiang Zhao nodded. I'm not going. She's prone to chest tightness now. Last night, she said that she wanted to eat egg custard, so she went to the kitchen to make egg custard. In the end, her chest tightened and she couldn't breathe properly. She almost fainted in the kitchen. At that time, I was so scared that my legs went weak. So from today onwards, I've hired Andy to work full-time and she lives downstairs. Now that she's going on a long trip, I'm afraid that something will happen to her on the plane. So be it. She's going to give birth in a few months. I'm afraid of the slightest disturbance now. I just want to give birth to the child safely. I don't care about other things. Grandfather told me to get one of the old maids in the house to come over and take care of sister-in-law, but you refused. There's no need for that. I'm used to serving Grandpa's taste. I've changed it so many times and I still can't get used to it. It's easier for us. Your sister-in-law's mouth isn't very picky, so it's easier to get her. All right, Then I'll go back and tell grandfather to send Feiyu over. Arrange for the old maids to come over too. Then go back early. Grandpa sleeps early. Don't disturb his rest. Qin Fian couldn't drink the coffee. He placed the cup on the tea table and stood up. He smiled bitterly. Sigh, it's fine as long as he can sleep tonight. What's the point of talking about whether he sleeps early or not? Qin Fian drove out of the 9th mansion. He was greeted by a familiar Geely second-hand car. It was so shabby. It looked like he had to buy a car for his wife. It didn't look good, but at least it had to be safer. Driving such a car, with her slow reaction speed, was really worrying. Actually, he should get her a driver. With her brain, she wasn't suited to driving. Xia Qian's car drove into the 9th mansion. Qin Fian originally wanted to go back to the Qin residence, but at this time, he hung up the phone and went back. He told Qin Rongfang about Jiang Zhao's intentions. After the two of them reached a consensus, they hung up the phone. It wasn't that he wasn't worried about his family. It was just that he didn't get to see Xia Qian often enough. He couldn't let go of this opportunity to get close to her. Qin Fian turned the car around and followed Xia Qian's car. He didn't know if she was going to Zhuang Yichen's house or his sister-in-law's house. Xia Qian parked the car and unbuckled her seatbelt. She picked up a basket from the passenger's seat cushion. It was filled with a whole basket of eggs. She opened the door and got out of the car. Jiang Zhao was just about to go to bed when the doorbell rang again. Worried that something had happened to the Qin family, he quickly went to open the door. He saw Xia Qian standing outside with a smile through the peephole. He opened the door. Before Jiang Zhao could say anything, Xia Qian said, "Jiang Zhao, is Yi Er asleep?" "Oh, Qian, come in and have a seat. Yi Er just fell asleep." Xia Qian waved her hand. No, I'm just here to deliver some eggs. My colleagues from the station went to a farmhouse in the suburbs last time. I saw that there were a lot of chickens there. The boss was feeding them grain. So I discussed with the boss to get her chickens to lay some eggs and sell them to me. No matter how expensive the eggs in High City are, they are all foraged chickens. You can give these eggs to Yi Er. Xia Qian handed the basket over. Jiang Zhao quickly took the basket. Qian, you're so thoughtful. Come in and have a seat. I'll get you a glass of water. Xia Qian scratched her head. She was a little embarrassed. I can't drink water. But my colleagues said that I'm gullible. The eggs they gave me were probably foreign eggs bought from the market. I cracked a few eggs and found that they were all yellow, but I can't be sure if all of them are like that. I can only rely on luck. Jiang Zhao was very touched. Qian, thank you so much. What are you thanking me for? What's my relationship with Yi Er? At this moment, the elevator door dinged again. Qin Fian walked over and put his arm around Xia Qian's shoulder. "Oh loser. What are you doing here?" How could Xia Qian listen to Qin Fian talk about her like that? She slapped Qin Fian's hand away. "You're the loser." Jiang Zhao couldn't figure out what Qin Fian was up to, but he was also afraid that he would hinder his younger brother's plan to woo his wife. So, he didn't say anything and just carried the eggs into the house. Qin Fian saw this and put his arm around Xia Qian's shoulder again. "Loser, since we've bumped into each other, why don't we go in and have a cup of tea?" He paused and added, "You're not afraid of losing to me again, are you? I knew that you're not as strong as me." How could I dare say that you're not a loser? Let's drink then. Who's afraid of who?" As soon as they entered the house, they didn't drink any tea. Qin Fian instigated Jiang Zhao to take out the wine in the house and compete with Xia Qian in drinking. Jiang Zhao knew that Xia Qian had been tricked, but he didn't say anything. Although Xia Qian was his wife's best friend, Qin Fian was his younger brother. It was the truth to help one's family over reason. Jiang Zhao knew that it was easy to get drunk when mixed with wine. So, he took out red, white and yellow wine. He was a little afraid that the noise downstairs would disturb Yi Er, so he deliberately asked them to be quiet. He then ran upstairs to take a look. His wife was sleeping like a pig. When Jiang Zhao came downstairs, Xia Qian was waiting for him. The three of them were competing in drinking. It was not easy for Xia Qian to discover Qin Fian's scheme. So, The drinking competition ended up with two men shamelessly forcing a woman to drink. Qin Fian only drank red wine, and he liked to drink it. Jiang Zhao had no problem drinking white wine. In his social circle, many people drank white wine. His tolerance for white wine was better than red wine. But this way, when Xia Qian drank with Jiang Zhao, she had to drink white wine. When she drank with Qin Fian, she had to drink red wine. The wine bottles were emptied one by one. Xia Qian was so drunk that she didn't wake up. Jiang Zhao bowed to Xia Qian's corpse. Xia Qian, don't blame me. I didn't mean it. Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian's corpse and smiled. Brother, you did mean it. Jiang Zhao rolled his eyes at Qin Fian. You're not doing your job. After that, he turned to go upstairs. I'm going upstairs to sleep. No one came today. He went upstairs and looked at Xia Qian. When Qin Fian bent down to pick up Xia Qian, Jiang Zhao shook his head helplessly and said sympathetically, Qian, I'm sorry for the basket of eggs you gave Yi-er. I feel guilty. Then, he put away his sad expression and went upstairs as if nothing had happened. When he returned to his room, he quickly brushed his teeth and rinsed his mouth. He was afraid that his wife would dislike him for smelling too much alcohol. After throwing the drunk Xia Qian into the car, Qin Fian was exhausted. Qin Fian drove very slowly. He was afraid that the woman in the back seat would be thrown out. Qin Fian hummed a tune as he drove. The most comfortable life was to take his wife to a hotel. That's right, he was going to get a room. But Qin Fian wasn't a jerk. He wouldn't force a woman. He just wanted to create the illusion that they had slept together. On the large bed with white sheets, Qin Fian put Xia Qian on the bed and took off her clothes one by one. When she was only left with her underwear, Qin Fian, who originally didn't think he was a jerk, couldn't stay calm. Why did he look at Xia Qian now? Why did she look so pleasing to the eye? He lowered his head to look at her eyelids. They had really been done. The line was not like a normal double eyelid. It wasn't a crease mark, but a scar. This was the legendary plastic surgery. Plastic surgery was pretty good. When she opened her eyes, they were big. Her nose was also pretty good. Although it wasn't very tall, it was as tall as Xiao Ye's nose. It looked a little too strong. He didn't like seductive women like that. Someone like Xia Qian was better. Soft and tender. Sigh, she looked pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at her. Why did her breasts have to be so big? They were from Still Strike. She wasn't a cow. Sigh, she looked pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at her. She was so pleasing to the eye that his eyes were spitting fire. He felt a little flustered and wanted to kiss her. In the end, Xia Qian was completely naked. Qin Fian started to take off his own clothes again. After he was done, he pulled the blanket over and hugged her. He laughed mischievously in his heart. Xia Qian, tomorrow morning, you can't deny it even if you want to. Anyway, I'll insist that we slept together. Let's see what you can do. He was still laughing mischievously in his heart. The next second, he realized that something was wrong. He realized that he really wanted to poke her. Song Shu 566. Chapter 748. It was very swollen down there. When he thought about how her hands had played with his body until it was as swollen as it was now, he blushed and buried his head in her chest. It was only when he buried his head that he realized that the thing in her chest was not buried casually. The moment he buried it, he felt even more uncomfortable. The naked man and woman hugged each other. Time passed like ants crawling on the ground. Qin Fian thought, God, when will the sun rise? The woman in his arms started to get annoyed. She started to push and kick up a fuss. Qin Fian was hit by Xia Qian a few times. When she opened her eyes and saw Qin Fian, she froze for a moment and burped. She looked like she couldn't open her eyes and was trying her best to do so. Are you drunk? Loser. Qin Fian was shocked and said again, You're the loser. Are you afraid that I'll kiss you? Xia Qian narrowed her eyes. She was only paying attention to the position of Qin Fian's eyes. She didn't even see the lust in his eyes. Afraid? I, Xia Qian, don't know how to spell the word afraid. With that, She grabbed Qin Fian's head and kissed him. Qin Fian saw the situation and deliberately resisted. "Xia Qian, you boorish woman. Stay away from me." "I won't." Xia Qian was so drunk that she flipped over and pinned Qin Fian down. The more Qin Fian turned his head to avoid Xia Qian's lips, the more Xia Qian wanted to kiss him. The louder Qin Fian made a fuss, the more excited Xia Qian was. She thought that he was a loser and slapped Qin Fian's face. "Stop shouting. If you shout again, I'll sleep with you." Qin Fian's face was red and his heart was beating fast. His lower body was like a piece of iron that had just been poured out of a furnace. It was hard and hot. With red eyes, he said weakly, "How dare you? If you dare to touch me, I'll kill you." But later, Qin Fian was disappointed to find that Xia Qian only wanted to scare him. Even if she was drunk, it was the same. She was just scaring him. So, he hugged her waist and turned around. Using his self-taught skills, he kissed her lips, rubbed her chest, and spread her legs. While doing something worse than a beast, he used an extremely aggrieved voice to berate Xia Qian for being a hooligan and trying to molest him. Xia Qian was very dizzy. She only knew that she had to fight with Qin Fian. She thought that she had to beat him up. Hearing him dodge, complain, she felt very comfortable in her heart. Listen, 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 he is fighting again. Xia Qian, how? Do you believe that I'll tear you apart? Suddenly, Xia Qian's consciousness came back from Qin Fian's voice. She felt as if a knife had pierced into her lower body. The pain came from her lower body, as if a powerful force was spreading and rushing to her throat. Ah! Qin Fian was also stunned. He didn't dare to move. He was so nervous that his whole body was red and sweating. But at this time, his instincts told him that he couldn't go out. He pressed his body down. He couldn't let Xia Qian move. He couldn't let her retreat. Since it was already like this, he had to make her his. "Qin Fian, what did you do to me? It hurts." Qin Fian didn't dare to say sorry. He could only bite the bullet and scold. "Xia Qian, what did you do to me? It hurts. You hooligan." After saying this, he realized that he was on top and she was below. So he hugged her waist, turned around, and put her on top of him again. But he still held the woman's hips tightly, not allowing her to escape. Qin Fian grabbed Xia Qian's shoulders and pulled her down to press her down on top of him. He then put his lips on hers and shouted, "Xia Qian, you hooligan! You actually kissed me." Men were like kissing in bed. They had super high awareness and knew how to move. But a virgin for the first time couldn't bear the pain. He thought that he could be very strong and never fall. In the end, while Xia Qian was screaming in pain, Qin Fian surrendered very quickly. Qin Fian was a man who had never slept with a woman or been in a relationship. If he were to be taught how to love a woman in bed, he definitely wouldn't know. He was annoyed that he was so fast. Why didn't he last a little longer? But more importantly, Qin Fian finally thought that Xia Qian belonged to him. Xia Qian was a little awake, but her thoughts were tangled up by Qin Fian, who had a bitter and vengeful expression on his face. Qin Fian wrapped himself in the blanket, revealing his pitiful but charming phoenix eyes. He complained in a tearful voice, "Xia Qian, you're not human. How dare you do such a thing to me? How am I supposed to face people in the future?" Xia Qian was about to explain when she realized that she was tongue-tied. She was so anxious that she couldn't speak for a long time. She was still naked, but this man was wrapped up tightly. Did she rape him? But she was the one who was bleeding, okay? That's not right, Qin Fian. It's clearly what? Clearly what? What else do you want? What else do you want to do to me? Look at me like that. Qin Fian was very beautiful, comparable to a woman. At this moment, his sorrowful look was pitiful. Xia Qian hugged a pillow, which happened to cover her naked body. She was still not fully awake and had a terrible headache. Qin Fian's howling made her head hurt even more, as if there was a tumor growing in her brain. She was very angry and annoyed. "What are you howling for? It's my first time." Qin Fian argued, "What's so great about your first time? It's my first time too. I'm almost 26 years old and still a virgin." Do you think it's easy for me? You actually raped me. Qin Fian did not give Xia Qian a chance to think. He lifted the quilt, pulled Xia Qian into his quilt, and hugged her. His two legs tightly wrapped around her legs, and he snorted. Let me tell you, Xia Qian, I'm going to sue you for molesting me tomorrow. You have to compensate me for my psychological damage. I have to prevent you from running away. Let me tell you, this money, don't even think about not paying. Do you think I, Qin Fian, am so easy to bully? Try running away for fear of punishment. How much money do you want? Xia Qian was really uncomfortable with Qin Fian's howling. It was as if she had done something immoral. A man's first time was actually worth more than hers? Damn, what's so great about being a virgin? We'll talk about it tomorrow morning. Either we settle or we go to court. My heart is very hurt now. I'm very sleepy. I'm going to sleep for a while. You're not allowed to run away. Don't even think about denying the money. Are you transformed from a bird? Chirp chirp. Damn it, you're so annoying. Xia Qian scolded and closed her eyes to sleep. Qin Fian heard Xia Qian's breathing and knew that she was still drunk. That was why it was so easy to deal with. But what if she woke up tomorrow morning? But what did the radio program say? Just don't ask. At most, he would be slapped twice. If he didn't kiss her, he would miss the opportunity. He had already done it. He couldn't regret it. Now that he was hugging Xia Qian like this, and he was a young man who had just experienced love for the first time, this feeling could only be understood but not described. He released too quickly just now. He was a little embarrassed, but he was confident that he could do it well the second time. Xia Qian's cry of pain just now made him feel conflicted. How could he make her not feel pain? If she woke up faster each time, it would be difficult for him to cover it up. So he took advantage of the opportunity. After Xia Qian fell asleep, he got out of bed quietly and searched for his phone. He began to search for information on the internet. The internet was a good thing. You could find anything you wanted. With one search, all kinds of strange things would come out. Qin Fian got on the bed again. He began to kiss Xia Qian slowly and patiently. He suppressed his impulse and didn't allow himself to be impatient. There were still burns on Xia Qian's back. Qin Fian touched there and his heart ached. This time, he kissed Xia Qian, who was drunk like a dead pig and moaned from time to time, while he slowly pushed himself into her body. Xia Qian kept feeling that her body was very swollen. She wanted to squeeze that thing out of her body, but she just wanted to suck it into her body. It was very torturous. It was like a dream. She was jolted awake. When she found that she was on top of Qin Fian again, she felt that she was going crazy. She actually had Qin Fian on top of her again. Qin Fian looked at the woman lying on his chest. When she propped herself up, he knew that things weren't going well. When he was slow, she was always dizzy. Sometimes she would moan a few times. After thinking about it, he felt that it should be fine. However, he was afraid that she would wake up and see him on top of her. So, he simply flipped her over like before and placed her on top of him. He just wanted to give it a try quickly. After a few jolts, she woke up. This time, Qin Fian didn't stop. He shouted, Xia Qian, you're really going too far. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll think that I'm easy to bully, right? Why are you always on top of me? Xia Qian was stunned by his shout. Her body had already flipped over and was pressed down by Qin Fian. Then she was hit. Hey, I didn't do it on purpose. Why are you so hard? Qin Fian was a little embarrassed. Oh, then I'll be gentler? For the entire night, Qin Fian used revenge as an excuse and took Xia Qian apart again and again. He felt that this way, his first night was worth it. He could finally enjoy the beauty of being a man. It was really different. The next morning, Qin Fian didn't dare to sleep for too long. There were still a lot of things to deal with at home. However, he also had to deal with Xia Qian's matter. Especially after what happened last night, this matter couldn't be delayed. Seeing that she was exhausted, Qin Fian carefully got out of bed. He took a shower under the shower. What happened last night still felt like a dream. He felt that last night was like a night of sex. Qin Fian's skin was fair. After the hot shower, there was a layer of pink on his skin. He raised his head and let the water wash over his skin. He had to be 120% alert. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to get through today. Now, he was a little thankful that Xia Qian would act like an idiot from time to time. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so easily fooled. What a headache. It was too scary for a woman like her to go out to work. No wonder she didn't get into university. Even if she did, her teacher wouldn't recommend her to an internship. She was really unlucky. In the future, he would be the one to end her miserable life. Qin Fian wiped the water off his body, wrapped a bath towel around his waist, and filled the bathtub with water. He carried Xia Qian from the bed and wanted to put her in the bathtub. Xia Qian was still sleeping soundly. She was startled by the water and continued to sleep. Qin Fian poured water on her and called her, Qian Qian, Qian Qian. Xia Qian was in a daze. She felt really comfortable at this moment. What? After you finish bathing. Let's go get the marriage certificate. I have something to do this afternoon. It can't be delayed. Xia Qian shivered and shook her head to wake up. God, why was Qin Fian here? Why was Qin Fian bathing her? He was bathing her naked. She wanted to stand up, but found that there was nothing to cover her. She immediately wrapped her arms around her chest. He was still shirtless. Shameless. Come and see. Hongcha 866. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.